Howdy, YouTube. Present Timeline Omega here again. Just a quick reminder, you were about to listen to another one of our best of compilations. This is a recap for Lostbelt 2. This one is absolutely taken from a couple of episodes, so you will hear some transitions and some jumps and stuff. And I've tried to re-edit this to the best of my ability to keep some stuff down. Anyway, that's really all I got to say. Make sure to subscribe now for more and like the video, or future Omega will find you. And stay tuned to the end for a word to our supporters. All right, take it away, past Omega and Lucky.
So, let's get into probably one of the big ones we're going to hit up. Lostbelt 2, first impressions. Not full impressions, not a whole post-mortem thing, but first impressions. I know a lot of people are not done yet. I'm only about halfway through. Lucky's done with the whole thing, and honestly, Omega knows lots of behind-the-scenes stuff anyway. Okay. Because he's a future seer. But, for the sake of the audience, the Lostbelt's not even a week old. We won't go whole hog yet. But honestly, this one's very... I was thinking about it when I was writing these notes. This one's very action-packed. Like, it goes places very fast.
That's not as cool as I like it to be. Fuck.
Would you agree, Lucky? This story gets started pretty fast and kind of sucks you into the core conflict very quick.
Oh, yeah.
As noted in my literal first notes, in all caps, fucking Kirei with a rocket launcher chasing the Shadow Border. On foot, by the way. I knew that this happened, and even then I was still like, oh shit, right, yeah, he's just fucking running at us with a gun, shooting us.
Is that a priest? He's got a gun!
Yeah, no, it's... it's just shocking. This is the first time he clarifies 100% to at least the Chaldea crew that he is Rasputin. Also, Sherlock brings up a very interesting point. Kotomi no Kirei should be dead and cremated, but Rasputin is here possessing a dead man, so was it a lie? Is he from an alternate future? Who knows? Seriously, give me like an FGO0 or something. I think I had this conversation at the end of the AP. Which, by the way, another heads up, the finale of the AP is out. It actually ended. We actually finished up pretty soon. It was only about 2 hours. The recording is about 3 hours because I kept everybody around and even got a couple of people from the Peanut Gallery in to talk about a kind of post-mortem for about an hour. Mm-hmm. So it's a very interesting listen. You should try it. The way the finale kind of worked out was very interesting because we had a very smaller, more intimate conflict with mostly just the masters and a couple of servants and the final secret boss, and it worked out really interestingly.
Final secret boss.
But yeah, so the prologue's very important for plot stuff. One, it's like, well, first of all, we find more ruins of the White Desert, and it's just like they use the soundtrack so well for this. It's just like, nah, dude, this is fucking weird. It sucks. Mm-hmm. We find a mysterious journal. Of course, we do. Kirei shoots the Shadow Border and recovers Cradock. He pretends to kill him, but doesn't. So Cradock gets to escape. After his handcuffs mysteriously ice over. Though also, I appreciate, it's a couple bullet points down the line, but this is where we start to see Goldorf's character development.
Oh, yeah.
They went really, there were already hints that he's not as bad a disguise he seemed in the Lostbelt prologue, but definitely the early part of this story, probably because, honestly, he disappears for a lot of the middle stuff, as far as I know, is it goes very hard on, setting up his actual characterization. But his plan to interrogate Cradock is to give him cream puffs, to feed him food, and Goldorf is dead certain that Cradock will crack like an egg if he does this, and I'm pretty sure he would. The dude's an alchemist. He already talked about turning, rotten meat into good food. Imagine what he does with good food already.
Yeah, Goldorf looks like the man, he got fat because he eats his own creations.
Yeah.
Never trust a skinny chef.
Yeah, that's a good one. And honestly, his rotundity actually becomes a minor plot point later. But we're not there yet. But yeah, so this is interesting. We see a lot of more conversations of, especially Wodaime. I won't try to say his first name. It's too hard, even for me. Wodaime and Ophelia talk a lot. And we get a lot more good feel, I think, on Wodaime. Actually, I didn't write it down, but much later, but he says a very important line, I think, for defining Lostbelt and the Cryptors. His message says, "Human order, was not correct, but nor was it wrong," which I think is a very important thing to say about this whole situation. Nobody here is right, and nobody here is wrong. These are all just different ways we could have done things.
Well, like, honestly, yeah, like, especially what I've seen, it's just, like, yeah, like, the more I see these Lostbelts and I hear, like, these stories and whatnot, I'm like, I am kind of slowly questioning proper, human order, but at the same time, I'm just like, I look at the Lostbelts that we have gone through, I'm like, no, not this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff here, and we'll probably talk more about that once we do the whole deep dive. Scathach thinks he's gonna get fucking murdered, right? Like, he thinks he's dead because he lost, but, Kirei is like, nah, you still have your Serious Light command seal. Very special, very important. Do not forget. So you're still important to us, and he whisks him off back to Olympus, which is interesting. They call it out as Olympus already. That's good to know for future.
Well, that's interesting, because this is the actual first chapter of LB5 Atlantis.
Yes, and in later parts they refer to it as Atlantis. I think it's safe to explain because we're gonna get all the maps and stuff at other points. Lostbelt 5 is in the middle of the ocean, so the ground level is called Atlantis because that's on the sea level. But the part 2 is Olympus because there's actually a mountain of the gods sticking up there. So it's kind of interesting pacing wise, and we'll really understand more. This is also where Wodaime talks about how he's like, my ally Zeus will find you very interesting. He's a cool guy. I'm like, really, that threw a lot of people for a loop when it came out in JP, and I think even now it's going to have a lot of impact just to reinforce that, man, this guy's really OP. The roots of his tree, which he has named Atlas, already stretch around 80% of the globe. And yet he's number 5. Yeah, so I think these next two are going to be really interesting. But yeah, we got a little off track. You actually wrote this next bullet point, but it's very interesting. So we do another imaginary sea dive, another zero ship thing, because we're trying to get through the storm wall.
Well, I think it's important to point that we're not actually trying to stop in this Lostbelt.
Yes, we're trying to get to the Wandering Sea because they've got stuff we need to know. And I believe both Da Vinci and Goldorf are like, we'll have to deal with this Lostbelt eventually, but we want to get to our contact and get more information first. And Da Vinci in particular is like, I really want to go to the Wandering Sea and see if they've got a fucking workshop, because Mama needs some new toys. There's only so much she can do with the supplies they brought on the Shadow Border. So we dive into the sea again to cross the storm wall, and we bump into something out there. There's something shows up on the spiritual sonar that is invisible to sensors otherwise. And Nash specifically says that it feels like a familiar, affectionate presence.
But Goldorf is just like, no, not dealing with it.
Goldorf doesn't like doing zero dives anyway, zero sails.
So he's like, take us up now.
Emergency surface. We don't know what's going on. We can't see the enemy. Let's get out of here.
And honestly, I don't know.
He's probably not wrong. They're not exactly the Shadow Border doesn't exactly have a lot of options in the Imaginary Sea.
Yeah, but also, as we found out, we have a lot of options topside either.
No, shit got a little rough.
Yeah.
But also, easy money is that this is Tiamat in the Imaginary Sea, because that's where she's supposed to have gone back to.
Oh, I really, really hope so.
Like, that was her story in Babylonia, was that after they no longer needed her, her consciousness went into the Imaginary Sea, and big man Gaetia woke her up from there, and she may probably have receded back to there because we don't want to paradox ourselves.
Well, as I said, again, Tiamat is fucking immortal. She really is.
Yeah, we probably gave her a concept of death and killed her in the underworld, maybe, but also, again, the paradox thing I mentioned. If she is humankind's mother as far as mythology is concerned, can we just destroy her? Is that even possible? We don't know. So I will, again, slight spoilers for later in the show, but today's, in case you forgot, this month's Teacher Omega Sensei is What is a Divine Spirit, and that is scheduled for today. I got all my notes in. So we're actually going to have a really interesting talk about divinity and divine spirits.
So again, I'm really hoping it's Tiamat. Like I said, but I have nothing to confirm or deny it, so I'm just like,
Yeah, it's not outright confirmed. but there's some points in there. I think this is also the first point where we start to see some like weird theories about Sherlock, because the moment we get out of the Zero Sail, Sigurd is just there. He's just there.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It's like, this was not a good choice in hindsight.
No, but that's because I still don't think at the point I am in the story, the player characters know that Scathach-Skadi can literally listen to them anywhere. Because she spoils that pretty early, that the ice and snow are her, so she literally hears what Chaldea is doing buried in the snow. Which is probably how they found us so fast. But yeah, Sigurd pops up and immediately
Throws.
Yes, he grabs the shadow border and throws it like an animal.
Yeah, no. Oh wait, no. Specifically, you come back and you try to go do an emergency dive, but Sigurd just grabs you and brings you back into the dimension. It's just like,
and just picks it up off the ground and throws it. Where's my Lostbelt 2 anime? Like, this guy. You just know, this guy. But this is where we get our first little weirdness about Sherlock, because Sigurd observes both Mash and Sherlock as we go to stall him, and points out that Sherlock himself is not quite a pure heroic spirit. There's a little bit of some other stuff mixed in there. Now that could just be because of the way Sherlock is, that he's like, maybe has elements of a phantom spirit or something, or maybe Sherlock has different rules because of his dimension hopping. We don't know. But he does kind of hint that there's something going on with how Sherlock has done some different stuff.
I said he might be in the same boat as fucking Dantes.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, and also Sherlock himself calls out the fact that he is mostly fictional, but was possibly based on a real person. So there's a lot. Some people have zoned in on the like Sherlock is secretly an alien, a foreigner theory. I don't think we're yet at a point to suggest that too strongly. Just that in this case, Sigurd does definitely call out that Sherlock is not a pure heroic spirit, just like Mash isn't. We do get some more slight intel on Sherlock's NP, though, which I didn't even know, because canonically, Sherlock does shoot magecraft beams. That's not just animations; he actually does that. But also he low-key, but he uses his NP to buff Mash and the protagonist, because he's like, "You got to stop that guy. It's elementary, my dear." Boom, does like a baton pass. So we managed to scare off Sigurd, but he takes the paper moon. And this is where I was talking about Goldorf's character development, because Goldorf's not really a bad guy. The way, is it Da Vinci or Meunier phrased it this way? But it's basically phrased that, like, Goldorf is the kind of guy that treats his subordinates as an extension of himself. If his subordinates are in danger, he is in danger. Like, anything that is a resource to him that is lost is a loss. So, he's not necessarily, like, he doesn't necessarily, like, super respect us or anything, but at no point is he ever eager for the protagonist or Mash or anybody to die. He's not, like, gonna waste your lives. It's just like, no, he can't, like, if you go, that means that he is that much closer to going himself.
He references his tutor might be having an impact on this. I forgot her name, but I lost it.
I don't remember her either. I think he like mumbled her name sometime. It's the stern homunculus lieutenant lady from Apocrypha.
Yes.
The other supporting character homunculus you recognize. She trained him, and she seemed pretty strict. So yeah. He's referenced his mountain survival.
Yes.
He also, while you're in the shadow border, he has a weird turn of phrase that Mash doesn't catch, but he's like, it's more, I'm just like, I think he says something like the effect of, I never want to get in a vehicle that I can't drive myself, and Mash is like, oh, that's an interesting analogy, director, and I'm like, that's not an analogy, I'm pretty sure that's a life story. like he literally doesn't get into vehicles unless he knows how to operate it himself, either as a matter of personal pride or as a just-in-case kind of thing. Because he actually calls out that several times he called out he drives vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
But only Da Vinci is able to actually, like, control the shadow border by fucking brain diving it or whatever.
Well, if I remember correctly, it wasn't so much driving the shadow border, it was zero sailing.
Yeah, it's the zero sailing part. Because Meunier, I think, actually made the controls, and I'm sure Goldorf could take those over in a pinch. It's the zero sail part.
I think he did that in Lostbelt 1.
Yes.
He was like, check out my sweet drifts!
Yeah.
Let me get some drifting in chat.
So this is, and then when he dismantles, he takes out the paper moon and gives it to Sigurd, and he expresses why. One, so that guy would fucking go away. And 2, if he ripped it out, he might damage it, and then we're fucked. So, like, Da Vinci herself is even like, yeah, he's a little sassy, but I think he's got our best interest. Like,
I think the best way. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, let's go for it. I was just going to say that I think she even says that at a couple points of just like we find Da Vinci agreeing with Goldorf a lot more in this chapter.
I think the way Goldorf is, he's always thinking of the end game, and he wants maximum results for minimum loss.
Yeah, that sounds like him. Like he's been through some stuff, and mages in general are a forward-thinking bunch. But also, I think the future, like you said, is a big deal for him. That comes up later, as we kind of get introduced to the shtick for this Lostbelt. Like, the fact that all these people don't really have a future or have any concerns about the future. Gerda literally doesn't know what they mean by the future.
Oh, God.
Like, it really bothers him. And I can see why. Because that is the thing. Mages are all about the future. They are all about... They know that their work will never be completed in their lifetime, so they have to entrust it to future generations. I also mentioned especially in the early chapter, there's a shitload of cheeky Da Vinci.
Not so much gaming rep Da Vinci though. That made me sad.
Yes, but just in general, she's very, very sassy pants. A lot of the time. And she made rocket skis. They have
named after the god of skiing, actually. I have to look that up.
But yeah, she gives. We also get to see a lot more Ortonax smash. Which apparently Ortonax is pretty cool. It's got an auto maintenance feature. It does have load balancing. I don't actually know what the fuck the Amalgam Goad is, but Mash references it all the time. I don't think Mash has new profile lore associated with her new skills. I wonder if it's in a materials and I've missed it. Anyway,
again, like I didn't know this. I didn't know this was always the case, but apparently Mash's shield has like a storage space in it, and I keep looking at the design. I'm like, where?
Yeah, I don't know where either. I think it's in the long body. But yes, because her shield is now artificial, it's no longer the actual fucking round table. She's apparently got storage compartments. She's got the bunker bolt in the bottom. So she has a lot of handy features.
Oh shit, this is something I wanted to mention. Foe gets a lot of action this fucking...
Yes, Foe. We actually get to take Foe with us. He tags along for the first time in a long time.
And boy howdy does he meet everybody.
And he's supposed to not be as smart as he was, but he's still pretty on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like he senses giants and shit before Mash does.
He's still talking to people.
They do one special faux translation when at least one when he calls out Napoleon. Well, and I'm also really glad they used the term Old Boney. That was the English nickname for him, Old Boney, because Napoleon Bonaparte. But like. And Foe seems to sense good people, and in general, the people who are our allies, and we're like, are you actually on our side? Foe is like, yes, human, this servant is fine. Also, please pet me. I am adorable.
I like it. They also did some interesting things with his actual sprite of actually making them hop about and even making a boing sound. I'm like,
yeah, they move around a little. It's great.
I will say, I can't remember who said it, but someone called Foe a horse, and his translation was, and sprite was force.
Force? It was Gerda, because she was like, because they don't know what animals are. Another really sad thing about this Lostbelt. She's like, are you a dog or a cat? No, you must be a horse. I've heard of those. And Foe's like, force?
I'm 100% sure in Japanese it was Fuma?
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that, because it would be Fuma. And now we just need to get Kawasumi to just say Fuma. Lots of Foe noises. Foe, makes a lot of adorable sounds and hangs out with us, just chills on inside Mash's storage compartment. He's great. We punch a lot of giants. This is my note is written down as I see a snowfield and I want to paint it black, because my solution to waves of Jotuns and Lostbelts and stuff is just to paint those motherfuckers. Foreigners are great, guys.
I did Abby and Hopes. I got a lot.
I have painted so many waves and thrown so many giants into outer space, my dude. just eat those boys into space.
God, but goddamn, there's a lot of giant. Well, actually, I should take that back. There's a lot of battles, but something I noticed that they did a lot is there's a lot of only 2-stage battles, and sometimes they only had like 2 enemies in it.
Yeah, they've done a lot with compacting. Overall, I think that because this is shorter, they've done a lot better job with the pacing. It harkens to some of the earlier FGO chapters in Part 1, where it would be like, and now you fight 9 wyverns for no reason. But generally, these do actually have a reason, and they're not as long as they could be. Like, most of the bosses are pretty softball. Slight spoilers now, but we said this, the dream sequence that happens later, and that's way later, that's quite beyond some of our notes, but this is a dream sequence. Everybody's favorite Cavern King shows up.
Like Sigurd. I like that part.
But, yeah, it's kind of pointless in the overall story, but it's really neat, and very interestingly, you fight a lot of generic mooks that are really weak, and it's like, it's just an excuse for Dantes to be cool.
Like,
honestly,
honestly,
literally in the first battle where you can only use Dantes.
Like, honestly, like, if they just kept the fight with the giant guard, I think that'd have been fucking fun.
Yeah, because that was actually really interesting.
Yeah. Like, the first two fights I just found useless, but everything else could have just been fucking tacked.
I mean, maybe just the solo with Dantes would have been okay, because that was like, ooh, look at Dantes, he's cool.
He is cool.
I warned you'd be fighting a certain berserker, my dude.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, I was talking to Robin's yelling about not being prepared. I prepared you. Y'all don't listen. Honestly, that was okay for me. Again, threw him into space, dude.
Spice!
5 guts, no big deal. I was eating like a couple of... You get a good Hokusai Abbey chain going, and you can you can eat a couple of those guts per turn. But yeah, no. Yeah, they don't give him all 12, but he gets 5 lives, plus he will do Batcon. Only his... Guess what? His Batcon guts is only like 2,500, so it's not a big deal as an enemy. When his 5 stacks of guts are for 30k each. But no, that was actually interesting and challenging. But yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
So I'm gonna dial that back. For combat, like Sigurd, like at first I thought it was gonna be a pain, but like honestly, a lot of people are like, use your Raleigh or Ryan if you got it. I'm just like, what if I use both?
Yeah, that makes him very easy. I am past a second Sigurd fight. I know there are a few. I used Urali both times with buffs and stuff. She does like 200k damage and NP shot.
And so, Lucky was just all like, I'm actually steamrolling these bosses a little bit, and I'm okay with that. Like, here's the thing. I can understand that some people want the bosses to be harder, but I don't want to fucking have to break my game and have to accomplish something. I want a strategy. Like, I've worked hard on my art strategy. I really have. I've specifically built things to work with my art. I put a lot of effort into it. I've done a lot of thinking. I put a lot of effort into that. So when I line all my ducks in a row, my ducks should fire off pretty well, and they do. So
yeah, I think the Sigurd fights in particular are kind of in a nice median zone where he's got enough stuff where you cannot just autopilot him with like Urale, right?
Yeah.
You can't build a stun comp, basically. You can't charm lock him like you could Gawain.
Yep.
But she's still a free-to-play unit that does enough damage to him that players who don't have Orion or who don't have a lot of like high-power single-target archers can still beat him up.
Yeah.
You know? My front line was story support Napoleon, Nobu, and Urale, and it worked fine. Nobu really punches that guy's tickets pretty hard.
Oh, I believe it.
Especially if you get her crit up too. Just like, ooh, no. You'll ring his bell pretty good. He's divine in writing. But yeah, we won't talk about the future story boss I warned about. But Sigurd is definitely like, we're trying to be a little challenging, but also, and it makes sense too. They're literally in story holding back because let me mention our next bullet point, which is Scathach-Skadi, mommy. Because that I think we both expressed surprise about the way how hard and how fast they go on Scathach-Skadi's character right away.
Yeah.
Because we're doing cutaways to like her in the League of Doom right away, and they hide her sprite a little bit.
Like, honestly, if this was the JP experience, I wouldn't have fucking guessed. Well, I take that back. I would have guessed because they did the trailers, the promos, and Scathach-Skadi was the caster. But if it wasn't for that, I'd just be all like, who is this mysterious person?
Yeah.
But no, I knew. Because
Napoleon does spoil it a little before you actually see her in person. But yeah, so they very quickly set up what her personality is like, and it's a little bit different than how I think she's generally been portrayed in the community, and I think even a little bit different than her Seminole version.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious. I'm going to go look at her lines. I'm curious. Hang on.
But yeah.
Not a Scathach.
Scathach-Skadi. Which, interestingly enough, they don't go with the equal version. They actually do it with just a single hyphen. Which I think works just as well.
Again, I'm still a little confused over Scathach-Skadi being a caster, but whatever.
It's because of Skadi. I mean,
Well,
like,
Skadi-
regular Scathach has runes, but I think the point is that she's a caster, one, because it fits the support mold, but also, two, because her role in this is very goddessy, spooky winter witch lady. Like, she commands the primordial runes and stuff.
Yeah, ish, but also Skadi was also more known as a fucking like huntress and fucking like something of the wilderness. So that's why I'm just like,
Well, part of that could be you have to remember that she is a Lostbelt servant. She is a character
that's
formed by this Lostbelt, where she spent roughly 3,000 years as the boss, and she would not be a huntress in this continuity because that's kind of her thing.
that's true. Well, I don't know. Like,
Well, maybe there's natural selection is not killing to Skadi,
yeah,
but there's definitely, we talked about this. She definitely does very quickly begins her gimmick of, do I love you or do I kill you? The answer to which so far about halfway through this story is always love you. Always. Everything she decides to love. She decides to adopt Ophelia. Ophelia is perplexed and bamboozled. She's okay with Sigurd, even though Sigurd literally wants to stab everybody. He's just like, say the word, boss, I'll stab him right now. And Scotty's like, don't stab anybody. He's like, I'll stab him though, boss. I won't go into details, but you immediately know something is up with Sigurd because he has red eyes in his sprite, but then there's a second when he's about to murder your ass. They turn blue and he stops. So you know there's something weird about him already immediately. We won't get into the details, but it does come up. But yeah, there's a heavy lean on Scotty's thing. Yes, it is a pseudo-servant deal. They do explain that Skadi is synchronized with Scathach, and
yeah, Odin. They actually specify Odin actually did that, which makes me wonder what the relation between Odin and fucking Scathach is. But whatever.
well, she learned the primordial runes from somewhere, and the point where they are connected is because they have a similar etymological origin. The name Scathach and the name Skadi come from the same root word, basically. So
Yes.
if you want to think about it way too hard, Scathach is probably the multi-generational Scottish interpretation or Celtic interpretation of the Skadi myth.
Yeah,
Probably.
no, I was like, I'm fine with I totally see the semblance between Lucky's beef with this is not the fact that it's Scathach and Skadi, it's that they're a fucking caster again. But so who knows? Not honestly, now that I think about it, I really shouldn't be getting mad at fucking non-supers fucking
Glass
mechanics.
containers are weird.
They are. But talking about Scathach-Skadi, Scathach-Skadi has been out for 2 years now, and this is literally, Lucky avoid spoilers, but there's just some things you get through osmosis of the community, where I don't think anyone's ever mentioned, Scathach-Skadi's mama-ness in Lostbelt 2. Ever. Actually, that was right, I was looking at her fucking voice. I gotta double check that. Dialogue. That's what we got here.
Yeah, no, she's very, 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 literally motherly. Everybody is daughters to her. She talks to all the Valkyries yes, my child. Thrud shows up later and she's and Thrud is yes, my master, what do you want of me? And Scathach-Skadi's yo, girl, I told you to call me mom. And she's just okay, I filed it away for future reference.
Continues to call her goddess.
Oh my goddess, what do you want me to do? And she's just Scotty's just yes, I appreciate your sassiness. Good child. Head pats. But there's a lot of that sort of stuff. They get into a lot of her things.
Okay, so looking at her lines, she doesn't completely remove the momminess, but she ups the queenness quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I said the interpretation I got from reading her lines was almost a little bit more Christmas cakey. She is a mature lady, but she's also, unmarried, never really had a relationship kind of thing. Kind of defrosts a little as you get to know her.
Although I am super excited for her Bond 5 line, because I'm reading this and I'm this is great.
Most high-level Bonds are. Sigurd's a real bro. He's just he goes from just yes, master, awaiting your orders to be hey, you put a lot of time and effort into me, so I don't have anything to give you but my life, so it's yours. I am your sword. I'm cool. I'm cool, I did put a lot of time on you. Good job, buddy. Let's go punch knife things.
Oh
Still,
god, her during event one.
What's her during event line?
It's it just starts with snore. Huh? It's not like I was sleeping. You're wrong. Jeez, what are you saying, human? Events, festivals should be the only things that our officers gotta throw away to wrestling. She seems like she has some dork moments, and I passed her clean the exterior, and I'm okay with this.
Yeah. But yeah, so we were talking, though, that they very early, kind of, and honestly, maybe it was in response to what they. I don't know if there'd be enough time with only like a few months between them to actually do a lot of adjustment, but maybe they knew how the way Lostbelt 1 was written. Ivan's a very non-character. Like he is a force of nature in Lostbelt 1.
Well, honestly, I think I kind of liked it that way, especially when he does his pilgrimage at the end.
Well, yeah, no, I won't say that it's bad, but it's definitely different. In Lostbelt 2, they are like, no, and the way it's written is, no, Skadi is an active force in this universe. She is everywhere, all the time, doing stuff, but also not doing everything.
And that's her love. Like I said, Lucky has this kind of weird feeling. Like, they keep talking on, like, Cryptors and their relationship with Lostbelt. If, like I said, it's kind of a half-baked theory at the moment, but if I was to say, like, certain ones had a theme, Lostbelt 1 would be strength. Like, what is strength and how do you use strength? Lostbelt 2 would be love. What is love and how does it relate? And you can relate those two to Cryptors. I don't know if this theory will
we'll have to
on.
see, because I wouldn't be surprised if there were through-line themes to a lot of the Lostbelts, but we'll have to see kind of how they stack up in the overall
I only got
story.
2, but like I said, I can't fully explain on the love theme with Lostbelt 2 because I think it hasn't beaten it fully. But love between characters and relationships between characters seems to be a big overall theme in this Lostbelt.
Yes, and different people's opinions on love.
Yes.
Because the Valkyries, the mass-produced Valkyries, and Skadi call the Lostbelt her love, her mercy. MASH, like, literally 200% disagrees. It's very, because the next bullet point, which we can talk about, because this is established very early, Lostbelt's still fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
This one's a lot prettier, and maybe a lot nicer. Like the Yaga, it's not like the Yaga who are like literally killing each other or wild animals to eat. Not like they eat each other anymore because that's their taboo. But they will definitely kill you so that they don't have to feed you. You know,
strength.
Like you said, strength. They're all about survival of the fittest. In this Lostbelt, while Gerda is adorable, we very quickly realize there's something wrong with this small girl child because, one, she's very fixated on that's just the way things are, right? Like, she's about to get squished by a giant and she's just like, oh, well, I guess that's it for me. This is just how it is. And then when Mash stops the giant, she just, like, does not compute. You're just supposed to, if you see somebody about to get killed by a giant, you're supposed to just suck it up and let it happen. And Mash is like, I'm sorry, that's not how I operate. That's against the rules.
So, like, now that I beat the Lostbelt, I kind of have to disagree with Mash. Like, the way that Scathach-Skadi is kind of her love and mercy, it's just the fact that her love and mercy isn't gonna fucking go anywhere.
Yeah, I think, and I know some of the overall themes. Mash disagrees with the way it's executed without context. I think even with context, while it is probably more merciful than it seems, it's still, like you said, it's not going anywhere. This state of being with literally 10,000 humans has persisted for like 3,000 years outside of outside interference will not change. This is just how things have been going.
And that's the fucking killer thing to me, because if the Lostbelt did grow, like everyone's gonna know, you fucking take down the tree. But it makes me wonder, if the Lostbelt did have the opportunity to grow, would things have been able to change?
So I want to put a pin in this until we can talk about the whole thing, but I've actually had some interesting theories, because I know that you beat it and you have thoughts and feelings on it, and that immediately had me kind of thinking about all these Lostbelts. We are definitely, like, we and the Cryptors are outside influences. We are in a physics equation, we are outside energy, right?
Yes.
That changes the equation. I'm very curious, because I think that this is all just me theory crafting. But I think that if we do stuff, or even if the Cryptors, but in general, if we do stuff that would make it so that the timeline could advance, would that mean that theoretically those timelines are no longer stagnant and no longer have to be pruned? Like, obviously they aren't our timeline, so they would still leave the texture of our world, but does that mean they have to be removed from the time tree? I don't know. I could just as easily see that as, like, the conclusion of Lostbelt is, like, all those possibilities now exist out there somewhere. Or it could just be Natsu's like, no, fuck you, you have to destroy everybody's hopes and dreams to get your life back. Like,
oh god. See, the thing that's killing me here is, we have to destroy these Lostbelts for no other reason than we literally have no idea what else to do. at this moment in time.
And also because it makes the Lost Belt disappear, which is physically the Lost Belts are fucking our shit up. Like, they are physical obstacles to us getting around, and...
Well, yes. In that sense, but, like, they keep talking about how they're going to use this to reverse the... what they fucking call the
bleaching?
Yeah. Like, and honestly, I actually haven't seen any evidence in stories to say that actually getting rid of the Lost Belt actually removes the bleaching.
No, it doesn't. I believe, well, the way the Cryptors phrase it is that it's much like the whole Part 1 plot, where removing only one grail doesn't matter. You have to stop all 7 singularities. The idea is that, as far as we know, if there are no trees, the god can't descend and can't do a correct thing. So we can, theoretically, that would mean that there would be no risk of them expanding. And honestly, who knows? Maybe we could activate our time cop powers and like go back and unfuck things. But
yeah, because from what I understand, the trees coming down the Lost Belt expanded are something that happened after the bleaching. So I'm like, what was the event that actually did the bleaching?
I think it's alluded to in some of the journals that there was some kind of like attack or something.
Yeah,
like we'll get more details on that, more specific details as time goes on. But yes, you are right in that this is definitely like we're doing it because it's the only thing we can do. But also, if we could honestly get some of the Lost Belts to like fuck off and not expand, that would probably be okay. The problem is that I don't know, maybe Wojaime seems like he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Like, he's very non-assholey, but also he definitely feels like he is 100% forcing a confrontation, both with us and between the Cryptors.
Honestly, I do like they get into Wojaime's character a little bit more. I don't know. Did you get to the part where Ophelia is explaining what Wojaime did for the Cryptors?
No, not yet, but I know what happens. But we won't talk about that because that would be spoilers for some people.
Yes.
But I know it. I know more about Wojaime's character. But just the way he's appeared so far in the Lost Belt is like he's not an asshole to anybody. Like Canis shows up for like 5 minutes. She's still big dick swinging.
God, I'm sorry.
But then
Canis
also Skadi definitely pushes her. Skadi definitely pushes her danger button, and you're just like, why would you do that? Why would you be the bigger asshole of this situation?
I don't know, because Canis was going to just about fucking murder someone, just like helpless on the floor for no goddamn reason.
True, but she likes to fight.
Yeah, excuse me, is fighting just murdering someone laying on the fucking floor? No.
No, like, but also, I don't know.
Canis is like, I'm sorry, like, Canis is nice, but the more I see her, I'm like, Canis, like, I hope this is just Wojaime's influence on you, but I'm starting to not like you. Literally,
well,
come here
it is
to
not
deliver
necessarily
a message.
directly Wojaime's influence, but I think she says it. Canis doesn't want to be on their side, but the way she phrases it, I think, in this is that she lost to Wojaime, so she has to work for him. So I think a lot of this is basically her equivalent of job stress. Like, she doesn't get to do any of the things she wants to do, and she has to, like, walk around working for a guy who she doesn't like and who, in her opinion, is a lunatic. Like, she constantly talks shit about him. And people keep getting in the way of her doing the stuff she wants to do. Like she wanted to fight Ivan. He was going to be a big boy. He was going to be a cool thing, and then we beat him, and it's like, okay, well, I'll get you back. You ruined the Lost Belt I was supposed to oversee, and you got the guy I wanted to get, so maybe I'll poke you. I don't think she honestly cares about killing us so much as she's trying to get a reaction from somebody. And she did from Napoleon, and then it was like, and then Skadi was like, no, you can't do that in my house. There will be no blood. And then she just
These are my children now. I will adore them.
Case just like,
and I'm secretly like, thank you.
And in Case is just like, okay, so you're crazy too. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna leave.
But I will say that Scathach-Skadi did give the fucking low blow though. Holy.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, she pushed the danger button, and it's just like, whoa. She's like, okay, that's rude. Like, I know Kane is to be an asshole right now, but you don't gotta be mean to her. But yeah, so but Wojaime himself, like I said, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, but he's very much like forcing confrontation in a weird way. Like, he's constantly trying to encourage Ophelia to like grow her Lost Belt, do her job, and Ophelia is like, you can tell she doesn't. I don't think she outright says it, but several other characters allude to it. She really doesn't want to fight or compete with Wojaime for reasons we'll get into another time. But like, she really doesn't want to do that. So like, it's tough for her. And similarly, like, we don't necessarily want to fight the Cryptors or other people either, but either through, like, Wojaime's commentary or just through, like, the way that Lost Belts are, we keep having to have this conflict, right? Like,
yeah, like, again, like, Ophelia never, like, honestly, like, Scathach was kind of a little bitch, but he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. And same
No,
with Ophelia.
Scathach's not really evil, but he has a chip on his shoulder, and for us in particular, he's like, I don't want to lose to that guy for reasons.
Strength. But, and Ophelia, well, like, especially, like, you've been to the castle, so she really wants to be friends with Mash, and,
yes,
trying
she
to
wants
talk
to share
Mash.
matter. I feel a little slighted, because I feel like Ophelia never fucking talks to me. Like, I'm standing right there in this fight. She only ever converses with Napoleon, for Napoleon reasons, or with Mash.
Well, honestly, reading into it, like, from what I understand, Ophelia never really talked with any of the other guys either.
That's true, fair. She seems like a close person, but to me, it's almost like, man, standing right here. Even Wodaime is like, hey, I'm your senpai. What's up? It's
oh,
like,
no, at one, no. Oh, wait, no, that's at the end.
No, at the end, I'm sure there's stuff, but it's like, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff with her character. That, and much like with Caradoc, we spend a lot of time alone with Ophelia, or with other stuff. But yeah, so we got a little off track, but I was talking about why the Lostbelts are fucked up. So this one's in a stagnant because if you don't have kids by 15, you die. We send you through the gate and giants eat you. And supposedly we take your soul to Valhalla, but I'm not sure about that pyramid scheme.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. Like, because here's the crazy thing. Like, to get into it, Ragnarok happened, but also didn't happen.
Yes, so we'll talk about this again in my Divine Spirit bit, but basically the way Ragnarok was supposed to work in proper human history, based on theories, is that Ragnarok happened and the texture was burned away, which means all of the ancient mystics and magics and mystery was destroyed, and normal Age of Man Earth resumed. So the Norse lands stopped being a world of mystery and became a world of science and logic and stuff.
And they make this syncretism with a volcanic eruption that happened.
Yes.
Okay.
But in this Lostbelt, so something clearly happened because there's fire and ice everywhere, and Skadi says she's the only goddess left, but also there's still runes and Valkyries and giants and shit fucking around. Like, the giants are a really big deal because there are literally no actual proper Jotun giants left in the world anywhere. Like, they might not even be in the reverse side.
Thanks, Ragnarok.
Yeah, like, Goldorf says to Mash that, like, you've now seen a giant, you may be one of the only living humans, modern humans, to ever have done so. So clearly...
Master's over here. It's like, man, I have seen some shit. Oh, here's something I super appreciate. I don't know if you got there, but it's not really smart. Goldorf talks about having to write these reports and how no one's ever gonna fucking believe him, and everyone's all like, yeah, and how do you think we filmed? Motherfucker.
I don't think I've gotten that bit yet, but no, I would appreciate that too. Also, another thing I appreciate is we get story callbacks. When we meet up with Napoleon, we have plenty to talk about Napoleon later, but we talk about how heroic spirits are weird. You literally get to flashback to, like, Babbage and Edison. Yep. And talk about them and even mention the innocent monsters. So, like, yeah, that's cool. But I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff there. But overall, the thing is, the point of this one is the Age of Gods didn't end. That's why Wodaime is super excited about this. He's like, cool, you've got an actual deity there. That's cool. That's pretty neat. But this is because the giants need to be fed. For, like, technical reasons. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who are early in the story are asking, okay, other than your love, Skadi, why do you let all these giants live? I'm pretty sure that'll become clear by the time we get through all this stuff. But, for now, it's an open-ended question. Because she won't allow the giants to wipe out the humans, but also she brings the giants under her control, which I assume means that you can infer that means that the giants are born or created or whatever without her control. So, if she didn't control them, they'd be doing giant stuff, fucking around. These late Norse giants appear to be a little bit inhibited because in the myths there are some giants who are, like, intelligent enough to, like, interbreed with the gods and people and, like, forge stuff, do things. Most of the Jotuns and Muspel and the I can't say the mountain giant name. It begins with blah blah blah. They just seem like dumb animals. Like, they attack heat on sight, and they just instinctively attack. They make almost no effort for communication, and they don't have a lot of, like, tactical intelligence either. So it does seem kind of like maybe they were dumbed down a little by Ragnarok. But the definite thing that we got going on here is that this one is absolutely a stalemate. Like Lostbelt 1's not really a stalemate. It's just a really shitty place that like you figure maybe wouldn't go anywhere. Like
it's not going to go. It's never going to develop past what it is.
Right. But that's just because of the nature of survival of stuff, and just they are declining. Like they would just eventually ultimately die out just because that world is dead. Lostbelt 2 is not dead, but it is in a perfect stasis, and it's literally not moved in like 3,000 years. The first Valkyrie you fight is confused when Mash refers to herself as having, she's a demi-servant. She used to host a heroic spirit, the kind of person who would go to Valhalla. And the Valkyrie is like, in the like 2,400 something years I've been created, I've never actually met a heroic spirit. Like, she never met a hero. Yeah. Which, by the way, that's why I'm kind of like, I feel like the Valhalla thing's a scam, because if Skadi was whisking away these souls to Valhalla to be Einherjar, she'd probably have a pretty baller army built up, because that's what's supposed to be going for Valhalla is Odin recruits you to his hall, you get to fight and drink and fuck, in preparation for being his doomsday army when Ragnarok comes. When Ragnarok arrived, Odin like throws open his doors and his ghost Vikings, ride out for the last battle.
I gotta find a very specific gift here.
Who knows? She could be using the souls to mass produce the Valkyries. It's a little unclear. But there is definitely an essence that the Valkyries are mass-produced. The only ones who are left intact are the three we know from the Summonable Valkyrie. Though in their NP, all the Valks show up. Possibly. There were a lot of giants and a lot of smart giants in Norse mythology. I do know that, for instance, Wayland the Smith was supposed to be descended from giants. He was a blacksmith who forged a lot of famous swords, including he reforged Graham. And another big one is Loki. Loki married a giantess, one of the Jotnar, who gave birth to the big three, Loki's children, Hel, Fenrir, and Jotnar. Who, by the way, thank goodness that those guys got their business out of the way in Ragnarok, because I really don't want to meet a serpent that encircles the world, or a wolf whose upper jaw touches the sky and his lower jaw touches the ground.
Actually, Fenrir actually comes up in story later.
Yeah, I do. They mention him, but I'm pretty sure it's not a spoiler to say that there is no, in fact, literal giant wolf that shows up, because Ragnarok already happened and he dies in that.
Actually, I was actually there's a lot of cool just Norse creatures just going on and doing shit. And I'm just like, I would love to see some of these as servants maybe one day.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. And but BT Dubs, Fenrir's cannot be a servant. We talked about that absurdity that was Amari, or whatever her name was, canonical servant in like a Fate Extra Last Encore drama CD that she summoned Rider fucking Fenrir. And I'm just bamboozled. I'm perplexed. Why wasn't this in the anime, and why can't I summon Fenrir yet? Why can't I have a giant world-eating wolf?
Excuse me, Rogue Robin. There is nothing too bullshit to be a servant. Scathach kills gods.
Yeah, no. Fenrir would be a strong anti-hero power with anti-divinity traits.
Yeah.
Just he gets to kill Odin, and he gets to nom. He eats
sun.
Tyr's arm.
He also eats the sun. Well, again, actually, I should mention it. There's some stories where Fenrir eats the sun, but other ones that's stolen.
Yeah, the idea is that Fenrir is bound by his third chain until the sun and the moon are no longer in the sky. So either Fenrir's kid wolves actually catch the sun and moon and eat them, or Fenrir just gets so swole, chained up, that he gets to eat the fucking sun and be like, I'm free, bitch. Yeah. I remember. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting Norse stuff, and it's not like these people's little Norse peasant village, which has a number which is part of it. They really sell the creepy, almost fascist-y, livestock or like perfectly controlled themes, where it's just like, this is creepy. Like, this isn't, I don't know how evil this is creepy.
Yeah, as when I get context, it makes more sense, but it still doesn't
Yeah, no, and I assume it's because she doesn't want them to like freak out, but like, Skadi does nothing to support these people. Though the primordial runes exist and protect their villages, none of them know magecraft. It's optional to learn to read write. Gerda's never learned, for instance. She says this.
Oh, actually, I think I know why. Scathach-Skadi mentions something about this. There is no strife in her land. And
yeah, that's right. She does say that. There's no violence.
And there's no factions. Now, this is me being the entirely pessimistic humans are born evil camp. when you have knowledge, you usually tend to seek more knowledge. And
interestingly, that's something. I think this is an interesting counterpart that you said this, but Konoskaya brings that up. She says that humans are creatures who will support, love, and fight each other.
Yeah, but the way that Scathach-Skadi is she's divvied it up. They don't, because I said there's a lot of stuff mass. They don't seek knowledge, therefore they don't need knowledge because everything's taken care of. Because they don't need knowledge, they don't come into conflict with each other. Conflict is another thing that also drives someone to seek more knowledge because you want more knowledge than your foes.
And they don't want for resources because the population is strictly controlled.
So, I understand why Scathach-Skadi didn't teach him, because she basically, as I said, when you understand the full context, you understand why she does the way she thinks. You don't like it, you shouldn't like it, but in the circumstances, that's all she could really fucking do. Because if she didn't, humans would do as humans do, and would have fucked themselves over.
Yeah.
So, that's why, like I said, I understand why she does it. Doesn't mean I like.
And I think that's something that happens a lot with these Lost Belts is Lost Belt 1 took a while to mostly it was focused on how foreign it is, and weird animal people. Lost Belt 2 much earlier is no, this is a little creepy. Like I said, it's not evil, it's just this is creepy, this doesn't feel right. Both the Master and Mash in character 2 are just no, I don't like this. And then Mash sees two humans about to literally be led to the slaughter by a Valkyrie, and she's just no, I'm not okay with this. And that perfectly suits Mash's character. She's just no, that's not gonna work. And it also really suits what Mash's character development decision was in Lost Belt 1 is it's not necessarily about saving everybody, but it's about saving who you can save, right? So Mash is just no, those people are right there. I can reach them. I'm not gonna let you just feed them to giants. That's not okay. But that also brings us to our next bullet point, which is Napoleon is here. And boy, howdy, we go all in on Napoleon right away. You get a medal. You get a medal.
I love that the fact that there's just a back slap. He just whack, 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 and Max is please stop hitting him so hard.
And your response is cough hack. He's maybe a back rub private? I love that too. He calls you private. You're immediately invoked into his Grand Army. And I like that even Napoleon is I'm not exactly historical Napoleon. As a heroic spirit, I'm the guy who's made by the people. And he's not wrong. Napoleon was ambitious, but also he was just popular. He came back at least once because people were man, this non-Napoleonic republic sucks. Where's my Napoleon at?
If I remember correctly, at one point I think he actually breaks out and goes back, and the Paris just literally opens itself.
Yeah, the French are oh shit, Napoleon's back. I love that guy. Free party. But yeah, no, he says this a lot. He's humans, don't lower your faces. Look up. I am here. I don't know if it's a direct All Might reference, but he's very All Might in his characterization. Though, interestingly enough, his NP line does say I am here, but he uses ore. He's very boastful.
Shit, I was gonna mention. I love how he keeps talking about, man, I'm fucking tall.
Yes, he brings that up immediately. He's nothing short about me. Because that's a myth, by the way. That was because French inches, or French feet and English feet weren't always the same. So there is a measuring discrepancy, and the British ran with it because they've always loved their propaganda. Napoleon wasn't that short. He's very averagely tall. But as hero Napoleon, savior of France, he's super tall and buff and has a giant cannon.
Tit window.
Though, not that I wouldn't say that Napoleon shouldn't have a giant cannon. He was an artillery officer. He loved artillery. He tried to solve everything with artillery.
He actually mentions that a couple times about being an artilleryman.
Yes, when he talks about being covert ops, he's yeah, no, it's probably kind of figured that I wouldn't be stealthy, right? Yeah. Or another point, he's oh, you've really never seen anybody with a giant cannon? I mean, I guess artillery officers like me don't usually become heroic spirits on that. The cannon and the beams and stuff are a later or an afterthought.
Yeah, it's him talking about how he's kind of weirdly put together.
Yeah, he is a proper heroic, proper human history spirit, but as a heroic spirit, he is, it's referenced by one of his skills. The fluff description of Light of Possibilities is Voyager of the Stars plus Innocent Monster, so it's a positive innocent monster. Mm-hmm. Instead of him being a vampire or a weird dragon or something, he is, because people believe the myths of Napoleon, the word impossible doesn't appear in his dictionary kind of stuff. He is just that, right? He is just a vessel for humans' hopes and desires. He's like, and he even admits later, he talks about his relationship with women. He's like, I wasn't a great guy in life. I did some stuff. I'm not the coolest. But now that I'm a heroic spirit and I'm here, I am your embodiment of your desire. Like, don't give up hope, guys. I will save you. I am here because you called me. And he's just, he's so great. I love him so much. I'm so glad he's permanent. Just because he's so fun to have around.
He is. He's just,
It's a
trying to think of a good
throwback,
word.
you know? And they do a really good job. Like, in the story, he fills the VK Braun role of just like, no, he's just there.
We're going to do
He's
stuff.
Hang out with you. We're going to hang out. We're going to do stuff. We're going to camp in caves. We're going to come up with plans. He has a lot of intelligence, a lot of tactical data. He's blown up a lot of Valkyries, and he's pretty cool. I'll love to see what more they do with him. Also, yes, he Frenches a lot. Two of his command card selections if you use story support are oui and d'accord. And then in dialogue he says ooh la la a lot. Also, he smokes. That's one of his skill animations. He pulls out a tin full of cigars and smokes a big one and throws it away like a cool guy.
No, pick that up.
No, pick that up. No littering. You need those back. You've got like 4 more in there. What are you going to do when I pop all 3 skills? Sometimes he will smoke 3 times in a row. But yeah, so there's a lot of Napoleon action. Really glad for that. Because I've never thought that he was a bad character or anything. It's just that a lot of, especially permanent characters who are around a lot of these popular banners are made or broken by their story appearances.
Oh, yeah. Like, if I got a Napoleon, I'm not going to be upset, like, ever.
No.
But
a lot of
though.
people...
It might be a while before it gets leveled, though.
A lot of people probably didn't roll for him and didn't roll on and did not watch the video about him. That's right, I'll call you out. I know you didn't do it. I see the analytics.
Where's my shame bell?
Not that Sigurd is doing too much better, but that was something I was always curious about. I was like, so Sigurd's actually a pretty rare unit. He's got a lot of potential, but Skadi is right around the corner. Will people watch this video? The answer so far is some will. We'll just have to continue collecting data. Anyway, yeah, I'm very curious to see what people think of him because I usually get a slight read on what JP feels about stuff, skimming spoiler chat and things and seeing pictures. I knew he was popular, but it's good to see that a lot of people appreciate him.
Like I said, like, a lot of, like, here's the thing, people always love complaining about his kid or whatnot. It's all like, you act like everyone has all the fucking options all the fucking time. Jesus fucking Christ, people, calm down.
I mean, I'll say this, having read his match description, it's very lazy. Like, they clearly gave him, like, a military tactics and a charisma, and were like, but in game mechanics, the skills vanilla suck, so we'll give him weird variants. Like, literally, his charisma of the Triumphant Return, it's charisma, but it's special Napoleon. It does stuff. What stuff? We don't fucking tell. But yeah, he's a lot of fun. I got 2 more bullet points, I think, before we gotta move on to other stuff, because we are almost at 3 hours, but we'll edit this. And we gotta do Teach by Mega Sensei, because the month will be over. And we don't want to delay it unnecessarily. But my second bullet point is this. Konosuke shows up a lot in this. She comes back multiple times. I think she's still got her same sprite from Lostbelt 1.
Yes, she's still very Prussian.
But I didn't notice it the first time, and I don't want to wax too long about the music, but there's a new just regular battle theme that I really like. I don't remember it from Lostbelt 1.
Real talk, I'm gonna tell you right now, the music on this Lostbelt is fucking awesome in general. Okay?
Yes, it is. But also, I didn't notice it before. Konosuke clearly has a leitmotif, and it's creepy pianos, and it's perfect.
Yes.
Like, it accompanies her in a couple of big dramatic scenes, but we get to start unpacking her character a lot, and we'll see a lot more of her as time goes on.
Lucky's actually starting to wonder, because he understands that, like I said, like, Lucky's still important that this Koyaskaya is dodgy, but I'm starting to wonder if this dodgy is actually the beast. Is actually a beast, because in Tomomo's profiles, there is definitely something known as the Golden Millennium Fox, which is like this giant fucking disaster fox, which is based in China. I'm just all like, dodgy. Giant golden fox. Amaterasu.
Yes. And Amaterasu is referred to as Great Golden White-Faced Fox. You know,
so I'm just like
and there's a lot of, and I've talked about this before, CCC has a lot of language that's basically proto-beast talk. It talks about evils of humanity, you know, true calamities, demons, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of questioning.
So I'm actually starting to wonder if Koyaskaya might be a beast. Just me.
Well, I mean, she definitely seems to have the qualification. I think it was in Lostbelt 1, but at multiple points she calls out that she does love humans, but she loves them in the creepy I'm gonna destroy you way.
Yeah. So
Konosuke has a lot of empathy. She actually understands people very well.
Well, she does love people, but she also loves to fuck. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm like, Lucky's putting that in his. I'm gonna say I fucking called it if it actually is trying.
Always, sometimes, maybe question.
But if it doesn't happen, I'm just gonna be super quiet.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we've established that she is actually Tomovich, but that would be channeling the Daji, because it's actually, I don't think it's ever been clearly established, because Tomomo has access to all that stuff, but she's also was just a Japanese, like, peasant, so I don't know if those are supposed to be, like, multiple lives that Amaterasu created, or if it's just syncretism got in there, or what. We'll see.
If I remember correctly, when the Hokusai, like, fucking smashed it all together, it was India to China to Japan, if I remember.
Here's a fun fact I'm going to bring up later. That's also the path that the Hindu gods canonically took in the Nasuverse, because Buddhism transmitted that direction.
Yes.
It started in India, transmitted to China, then transmitted to Japan.
Yeah, if I remember, she was first Lady Kaio in India, then Daji in China, and then Tomomo. She was given the name Tomomo, but she was a peasant girl that caught the interest of the court and was given the name Tomomo. So yeah, it could be a thing. But as I said, Nasuverse is gonna Nasuverse, so I don't know.
But yeah, my final bullet point, slight spoiler, but also slight not, because we've talked about their story locked units, but we do run into Sitanai, or possibly Shitanai. But also in story, Sitanai just like, yo, just call me Ilya. Sup. I'm a tiny fragment of a thing that touched the Holy Grail once, and also, I'm 3 guys now. But the only note I think I want to get on that is just Sitanai faces. We got some motherfucking Taiga Dojo level faces up in here.
I see. Yes, I did.
So her fucking cat smile and her wavy eyes, like.
By the way,
yes, yeah, lots of smug big sister Ilya energy. But also, I'm pretty sure because she's not going to be released until Halloween. Spoilers if you guys didn't pick up on that part yet. In the 2 years we've been doing this show. I'm pretty sure she's not going to be playable or nothing, so I do feel kind of like it's a little bit of just like, Again, like when she shows up in story, she's just like, hello, let me help you. I'm going to take a nap now. Bye.
Well, I said, they gave her, like, for a reason, because, in case you didn't, like, slight spoiler, one of the Divine. They go a lot of the way out of this, so small spoiler. One of the Divine Spirits inside Ilya is Freya, which they explain in-game might be fucking Skadi's stepdaughter.
Yes.
So there's some things there, and it comes up later. She does show up again at the end to help, but no, she actually does not become playable anymore. We're probably not going to see her till Hall. It's fucking only
that's when they do her banner and make her retroactively story locked. But yeah, it's interesting that she is a very classic alter ego of she's a high servant basically. She's got Ilya's body and face, but it's if you're gonna listen, you can go ahead.
I can't only remember Freya off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. So it's first of all it's Sitanai, the Ainu hero.
Yes.
It's Freya, the goddess, and then it's Lohi, who is actually an evil witch in Finnish mythology and a goddess. Ilya Sitanai's got some interesting stuff going on. She talks about it like being them arguing roommates in her head, and Napoleon is like, this sounds bad.
I'm gonna post this in these photos.
Let's drop the bomb on them in general.
Yeah.
It could be. I definitely feel Axe brought up in chat. Maybe it's a thing where they didn't have some of the servants finished when they released. It's possible because this is something I'm going to point out again. The first year of Lostbelt, super high pace. We're going to get 3 this year. Next year we're only going to get 2, and one of those is, well, it's the length of a full chapter. It's technically not the conclusion of the story. We don't know if we're going to get Lostbelt 6 this year yet because of delays and stuff. They haven't announced it for sure. So it does definitely seem like they set a very fast pace where the writing of Lostbelts was going on faster than the mechanics of it, like making new characters and releasing them. Because Lostbelt 3 will have a similar thing. Old Man Lee will be retroactively story locked to it, but he doesn't show up until Benny Enma Banner Part 2. So
yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, like Halloween's only like it's only a few months after. Like originally, it was only like a few months after that. Same with like Old Man Lee, it was only like a month or 2, and they're like, all right, we got him done. Fuck.
Yeah, so it's just a slight gap where it's just like it wasn't a huge deal, but it was just a little bit of time, to give them that extra space so that they could release the Lostbelt story and then move on. Mm. But yeah. now we're going to do our Lost Belt 2 deep dive. If you're not done with Lost Belt 2 yet, this is your last chance to get off the boat.
Just jump.
Yeah, just take a little hop. So, okay, my first bullet point, and kind of general where we left off in first impressions, because Lucky was done, but I wasn't yet. It was a little bit before the midpoint. Like, personally, I had quit just before, just after running into Bryn, which is kind of just before the second act twist, basically, because of some stuff that happens with some guys and some things, which we will allude to later. But I put my first bullet point down as we need to take a second to talk about the music in Lost Belt.
Oh, I mean, how great it is?
I think something you said last week was like, low-key, all the music's good. It is. There's not only do we use a lot of the same classic Lost Belt tunes, that, like I said, the kind of the new version of the mystery music that's kind of sweeping with the choir, the Grand Battle theme a couple of times.
Flavor.
Also, actually, here's a really good question. I don't know if this was a bug or not, but it was pretty neat. During the climactic fight with Skadi and then with the tree, I had a thing where NP voice lines weren't read. I don't know if that's intentional or was just a weird glitch, but it was kind of cool.
I had that bug.
Yeah. It wasn't uniform, so I think it was a bug, but it was pretty cinematic. So, possible optional feature. I don't know. But yeah, it was actually, like I said, kind of neat. But yeah, so Grand Battle themes come back, but also there's several new pieces. There's a kind of soft music boxy theme, a couple actually, which I kind of associated with Ophelia and her struggles. As I said, just the general battle theme was really good. Not like anything specific, but that was good. Also, while it goes away at the end, holy shit, the like part 2 map theme when Sunday finally happens, which is the low Gregorian chanting. Oh, that was pretty good.
Like I said, like they put in some pretty strong like Nordic influences into the music, and I was like, I dig this.
Yeah, the music is very appropriate, and manages to be distinct from Lost Belt 1, even though they have arguably similar settings.
Yes,
which we are vastly going to change because I'm not sure when they're going to clarify that, but we're going to drive all the way to China next. So, but yeah, music top tier. Can't wait for them to start adding Lost Belt tracks to the OST player.
Have they added Lost Belt tracks to JP yet?
I'm gonna guess so because the first Lost Belt soundtrack is out. I think that's kind of what they do it for, is in time with the actual soundtracks being released. But I'm not sure. But that would make sense. If somebody knows for sure, let me know.
Organize some things. Okay. Wait, no, fucked up.
But also just in general, all the Lost Belt and the music is all very sad and poignant. Yes, we know this. But I think something that in the overall is almost more important. But yeah, the personal struggles and themes are really good and important too. But there's a lot of lore dumped in this story in particular, like even more so than the first Lost Belt, including an on-screen appearance by the alien god, because Ophelia has a lot of flashbacks, which is good because I hope we maintain this theme with a lot of the Cryptors, but it's one of our major antagonists, and I say antagonist, not villain, she is one of our major oppositions until the end. But even so, there's a lot of stuff she has to cover personally, not only to flavor herself in, but also she knows a lot of things. And so she reports those things to us, the audience, though not necessarily in character, because that actually probably would have maybe cleared some stuff up for later. But anyway, we get to actually see what happened, which is, Team A got in the ray shift coffins, and then they exploded, and they were probably gonna die, and then the alien god showed up as a light and was like, yo, sup? And this was only to Wodami, by the way. Only showed up to him and was like, sup, I have revived you. I will save you. You're gonna help me now. And he's like, okay, but I'm gonna need my 6 friends. And the alien god's like, really? That's gonna hurt, right? And he's like, it's fine. They're cool. It's an even better plan than your plan. So now there's 7 plans. The alien god's like, whatever, okay. I don't mind more plans, cool. And then what exactly happens is not explored, but it apparently does cause Wodami a great deal of suffering, which is why Ophelia falls in love with him, because she actually gets to see, because her eye can see possibilities. Sweet eye, by the way. We do actually get into the mechanics of her eye a lot, which is pretty cool. But that's why she falls in love with him, because, one, another big deal about Ophelia is she's major mage. Like, she embodies all the mage stereotypes. She is here to progress the work and focus on the work, the craft, and nothing else. Which is when her pesky human emotions get in the way, that she starts having her deep-seated emotional breakdown. It's okay. It's fine. It gets worked out in the end. But yeah, so that's... but there's a lot of background there that kind of explores the setup, the alien god, what the Cryptors are doing, the fact that only Wodaime and Ophelia know actually what happened, that they were, like, specifically saved kind of thing. You know, that Wodaime saved them. It's an interesting look for Wodaime, right? I think you mentioned this last week, because I was only partway through. There's a lot of really interesting character growth for him, but not necessarily full-blown sympathy yet. Because while he obviously cares about his comrades, his friends, he does a lot for them, even though he's working with an enemy, his comments and decisions on stuff, especially where Ophelia is concerned, are kind of weird. Like,
standoffish almost.
Yeah. If I would had to guess, it sounds almost like he's trying not to let Ophelia get too close because he's more interested in the plan succeeding than his or her personal happiness.
Yes.
He needs the plan to work, and that means he can't have Ophelia get too touchy-feely with him, and he can get touchy-feely with her, because then they won't follow through on the plan, which is to beat up everybody's Lostbelts and become the winner.
Well, you gotta remember, Wodaime is the top percent of mage, so it makes perfect sense for him to be all like, no, the goal is the goal.
Yeah.
So we're going for it?
But yeah, so it's, like I said, I'm not 100% sympathetic with him, but it definitely, I think, gives a lot of depth to his character, which previously was just, well, he's the boss guy who keeps taunting us for some reason. Maybe taunt is the wrong word, but he definitely speaks directly to us as the player character on a couple of points.
I was like, yes, I figured you'd be here by now, so here's my message to you. It's just like, sir.
I thought you'd be here. So, as your senpai, how's things? How's life? And I'm like, you know how life is. Don't you sass me. You know what I'm dealing with. But yeah, so that was a lot of interesting stuff from there. A lot of interesting talk on Lostbelt. There's some tree stuff that comes up that I'll circle back around to later. We don't find out about it till way later.
Hey, now that I think about it, does Daime actually try to actively discourage you, or is he just all like, that's what things are doing?
No, I don't think he ever tells us to quit. He's just like, hey, BT dubs, if you continue on your thing, that means we have to fight. It's a lot like how he talks to the other Cryptors.
Yeah.
It really is kind of, I think the analogy we used earlier when Lostbelt 1 came out was, it really is like a time-space Grail war, and we're the extra one.
Yeah. We're the extra class.
We're the weird one who's not part of the setup, but is still technically fighting in our way, because we're fighting to restore our timeline, which, as we established in the prologue of this, is super fucked. But not quite over. There were still people on the white world left. So, it's very interesting. I do also want to circle back to, especially how the way this one ends and stuff is, well, obviously the tree does stuff. Like, Scathach-Skadi mentions it's a miracle, right? She has all the foresight and stuff of all the gods and figures that her timeline should have ended, but didn't. Because this is actually important in both a quantum physics sense and in the way that quantum time lock and stuff is treated. Information is energy, basically, and energy has weight, as it were. Not like literal, but you know what I mean, hopefully. That's why you need the pruning phenomena, because if there's too much information, the physics of time and space in multiple universes can't work, basically.
Yeah.
It's similar to a philosophical question, which you probably have heard in anime before, about what's called the limit of questions, where basically, if you get enough intelligent life asking questions, maybe the universe breaks. But the reason why Lostbelts are pruned is because they won't advance, but we and all of our friends are new information. We are new energy in these timelines that change them.
Yes.
Stuff changes because they happen. So I'm definitely very curious about my own personal theory that because we happen to these timelines, they are no longer stagnant timelines and could theoretically continue, right? Like, they won't become the new world history, but they could still coexist in the kaleidoscope.
Well, like, here's the thing. The way that the world tree phenomena is things are all lines, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this was something I was actually thinking about. All these lines go in one direction, and based on things. There's nothing to say that even though that world line got primed where fucking, they turned into the beast people, there's not a fucking Paxi in our current timeline. There's not a Gerda in our timeline, just from how things work.
Also true.
It's all like, these people could exist in proper human history. They just not exist as, as a wolfman or as a child in basically a livestock camp.
Though, because of current time, current day, Gerda would still be like a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah, Paxi would still be probably like a hunter living with his mom. It's just stuff like that.
And I think either of those possible theories are possible. I did say last time it also could just be Nasu to be like, no, they're super dead. They're time-space dead. You must carry the weight forever. Goodbye. As Nasu just floats off to his next project. Because we know that Nasu likes suffering.
I said because that's something I definitely think about, because this was actually a question we didn't get to in Mailbag, but someone was asking why couldn't we save Gerda, and I'm just all like, it's like I can understand that feeling, but at the same time, oh man, that's one of those choices.
There's a lot of choices. We're gonna circle back to some of that too. There's a lot of choosing in this Lostbelt, even more so than way more so than Lostbelt 1, because in Lostbelt 1, until we get to the climax, we literally have no idea what the fuck we're doing. We're just doing the thing, and then we get to the end, and we're just like, ooh, okay, existential crisis. And then, Paxi is just like, listen, motherfucker, you can't have an existential crisis. Your timeline's great. So,
how dare you?
You better do your thing, because I know that there's a world which doesn't suck as much as this one out there, and you're supposed to be fighting for it. So you better fight, motherfucker, or I will eat you myself, as Paxi is standing there holding your collar, dying. And he's just like, you better. And then that's when we're like, no, you're right. We'll get to it, but the final confrontation in this one is, I think, even more dramatic than that, in a lot of ways. But that plays a lot to Scathach-Skadi's character, which I think we'll talk about.
Honestly, I really like Scathach-Skadi's character. Fuck.
Yes.
But Gerda, here's the thing: if you save one person, why not two people? If not two, why not three?
And then you are just, why did I decide that? You basically do what Atalante Alter did, which is like, why don't I just protect this timeline? And then you're doing the enemy's work while also having booped them on the snoot. It's kind of hypocritical. This is something
also,
Da Vinci references later, once you actually leave the Lostbelt, where I think it's Miniere is like, why don't we just forget about all those guys? And Da Vinci and you are basically like, no, that's cowardly. We may have time-space murdered those people. We should remember it.
Yeah, it's like, it's one thing to save someone in the moment, but it's like, because theoretically you can say, like, back with the village, it's like they've been doing this for like several hundred years. Like, what matters does it to that if it just happens as usual? Like, you would have saved yourself trouble, you wouldn't have gotten conflict, you could have gotten, and all that stuff, but at the same time, like they say earlier, that's just, that's how you lose your humanity. That's how you become desensitized to the human struggle or whatnot. Like, doing something in the moment, but it's like honestly, it's really, really morally fucked.
Well, and honestly, Nasu's been hitting this point since Fate's Stay Night. That's the purpose of the three routes, right? Is focusing on saving everyone versus saving one person, and what does saving people even mean, really? Like, Heaven's Feel is the route where Shiro goes, no, I will save one specific person, even though I'm probably fucking over a lot of people, and pulls into a moral question, because Dark Sakura might eat some people, between when you realize that's a problem when we actually get our, self-actualization at the end.
But, and even on a logistical point, as I said, if you save one person, especially, a small, what was she, 13-year-old child?
Yeah.
That's just resources that's just gone, because you have to take care of them. Not to mention, you don't even know if you can take a Lostbelt occupant out of the Lostbelt.
Yeah, there are protections on the Shadow Border, but we don't know how that would work, right? We've only ever handled people who are there, and even our servants who are from proper human history still disband when the Lostbelt ends, just like in Singularities. Like when the thing that lets them be anchored there goes, they go. Actually, that's another interesting way to look at it. The people in Lostbelts are almost kind of like servants. The world is saying they're not supposed to be here. The tree anchors them here. When the tree goes, the world is able to rewrite the texture. It's just that.
And so even if they and then again on top of this, do you want to be the one to explain to a 13-year-old girl that everything she knows and loves is gone forever?
Well, and also I want to say this about Gerda. We already saved her, as it were. Like, she was. If we were not there, she would have been squished by a giant, and she would have been weirdly okay with that. It's weird. The Lostbelt's really weird and fucked up. But I think, honestly, her send-off is one of the most poignant because it's... Oh, God. Because the thing about Paxi is he gives us his self-actualization and then dies. Like, he's just like... He takes the bullet for us and is like, dude, I've had character development. This world sucks. Your world sounds cool. Save your world. I'm dead now. Blah. Blah. It's kind of sad we don't get to say goodbye, but it's also, kind of important. But we do save Gerda's life, and before time ends, we did give her something. Like, I think Gerda was the only human in that world who ever wondered about the future. Like, what would happen to people? Where are her friends? What's going on other places? Like, those humans there literally didn't think about it. I think Napoleon, talks them into it, but those two humans who were going to go out and die, right? They were going to be selected and then sent out to die, the two adults. After we fucked that up, they're just like, oh, I guess we'll just go next year. Like, they have no concept of time or, thinking, even though we broke a taboo, they can't conceive of what that's like, so they just suck it up and accept it. Which is why that Lostbelt's really fucked up.
Again, now that you beat it, I definitely say, I understand why Scathach-Skadi did what she did, but at the same time, it's like, God damn it.
Yes, and she even admits, there's probably some stuff I could have done, but this was my way.
That's like...
But when the moment appears, she's 110% on there. Both to fight Surtur, and then when she's like, okay, cool, you've killed Surtur for me, now, I can't let you break the tree. You know I can't let you do that. And you're like, we were friends, though? And she's like, yeah, but the tree, though. The tree is why we're still here, and why all my people are still here. It's kind of what I'm about, and we're just like, okay.
Honestly, Scathach-Skadi, like I said, I really don't want to paint Scathach-Skadi as a villain, because she is literally just trying to protect the people that she has in front of her.
Yes. She is, much like Ophelia, she is an antagonist. Yes. She acts counter to our goals, even when, I wrote this in my notes as Skadi decides things, that's a really poignant moment when, after everything's said and done, we're all just standing there and Sutanai fucks off because she doesn't have in-combat assets to tell everybody to stay inside. I see what you did there, writer. But when she just has that moment where she steals her resolve and it's just like, hey, how many living things are there in your timeline? Oh, you've probably got millions of humans, billions, and then we count all the animals and plants. Okay. And she basically just steels herself to be like, all right, I gotta beat you. I am going to kill billions and trillions of entities for my 10,000. All right, let's go. Even though we find out later she's running out of magical energy, right? She's used she hasn't had time to recoup all the resources she spent stopping Surtur. So
and honestly, the way I believe it is she never stopped loving you.
Yeah, it's probably true. I could almost see it as kind of almost like a suicide by cop. The way Skadi is, she 100% understands what she's doing by trying to fight back against us and doom all the people in our timeline, right? She doesn't want to do it, but because who she is, she definitely 100% loves all the people in her timeline. She must do something, and she basically forces the confrontation, right? She forces it to be like, okay, you and me have to choose right here and right now. If we're fighting, we are fighting. I want my Lostbelt to live. You guys want your timeline to live too, right? You're protecting all those people, right? And we must fight.
She kind of reinforces what she must do.
Yes, and in doing so, reinforces what we must do, right? Also, by the way, though, I'm thinking about it. We don't talk about it much, but that's a really cool... This segment must have been really interesting because it was the last Valkyrie Ortolinde and Skadi fighting against just MASH and maybe your Shadow Servants. I think Lostbelt 1 probably sounds pretty interesting. Lostbelt 2 I really want to see animated. If only also for more Ophelia, but also just because there's a lot... It's shorter, and I think there's a lot more interesting action scenes that you can do, right? Mm-hmm. You could probably cram it into 12 episodes. You just shorten all the montages where we punch giants into rocket skis. But yeah, so that's really interesting. And like I said, I think what she's doing is she's trying to reinforce for both us and her. It's like, no, you are opposed. You must, if you're going to do this job, you got to do it all the way. You must fight Lostbelt. You must cut down the tree. And all the servants and guidance we get tell us we got to cut down the tree. And also, I think motherfucking Odin told us we had to cut down the tree.
I mean, his crows were out and about.
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing that Skadi doesn't point out, though. I picked it up the second time exactly 2 crows showed up. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, I think I was all like, is that motherfucking Odin crow?
And it was like,
shit.
those are. That's Hugi and the Moonin. What are they, memory and foresight? Something like that. So it's weird, right? Like, the last remnants of Odin were probably on our side, guiding us and Napoleon, even though they kind of dobbed Skadi out a little bit. That's kind of sad. But...
Well, again, I don't think Odin, personally, I don't know FGO Odin, but I'm pretty sure Odin would be all like, no, this is not right.
Well, yeah, no, Odin would be like, nah, dude, we're supposed to... this is after Ragnarok. We're all supposed to fuck off and die. That's how that's supposed to happen. That's fate. And in fact, the Lostbelt happens because the actual villain of this story fought his fate.
Yes.
Because the Lostbelt version of Surtur was not just, yes, I am satisfied just burning down the gods and then letting 2 humans and it's Baldur and one of his brothers comes back because they're dead. Is it Halder? It's one of those guys. There's an overly sarcastic, there's an OSP about Ragnarok. Go watch it. It's cool. It explains the whole thing, how that's supposed to happen. But yeah, so he kicks it off by eating Fenrir and thus gaining ice powers. Nope. Which means that he has enough power to challenge all the gods, so Odin seals him up in the sun and gives all the remaining authority to Skadi to keep all the remaining humans alive because he really fucks some shit up. Thanks, Surtur. Yeah, I have tree facts in here. We'll talk about tree stuff too. But yeah, so it's... I think you're right, Lucky, that Odin would be like, no, that's not how this is supposed to go.
Yeah, because you remember, humanity was supposed to, move on to New Age, but thanks to Surtur's fire, they were just literally trapped in here.
Yes, he fucked up the nature of things so well that seasons got really ruined, a lot of stuff got worked up. It's very, very interesting. Oh, another big lore thing. The mysterious hooded man from Chaldea shows up again, using magecraft to strengthen barriers. It's not runecraft, it's just a thing he does that's really good, apparently, because giants can't penetrate it.
Good.
So, yeah, I don't know who that guy could possibly be, but he's cool. I'm sure we'll catch up with him one of these days, considering he's apparently just walking across... Also, another big question, how does he just walk into a Lostbelt? Because we know how Canis gets in. She has an authority over the sea in storms, so she can walk through the storm wall. And it appears that Konanskaya Tomovich can just teleport. She just, slides or whatever.
Mysterious person, hopefully we'll see more.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be a recurring line. But yes, they show up again, and it's very interesting what they're doing with their stuff. But yeah, so there's a lot of lore. I think, though, speaking of Canis and Tomovich, that leads me to the first bullet point I actually wrote in my list. In all caps, lies, the ass is fat.
It is.
That's because, this is a very, very interesting scene, by the way, because Canis and Konanskaya Tomovich have a conversation while Surtur's freaking out, because the big second act twist is that, hey, shocking nobody, Sigurd was Surtur all along, kind of, and he was doing okay until Bryn stabbed him with her spear and broke his spirit origin, which let him escape-o. And then he kidnaps Ophelia and fucks off.
Because of Wolf.
Yeah. You said this last week, Lucky, but I think you're definitely right, though that could just be confirmation bias because you said it. There's definitely an underlying theme of people loving and how they love, and sometimes love is not who.
I mean, I
can
literally map it all out.
Yeah, no, but also sometimes it's Sigurd and Bryn, and they're adorable.
It's you literally have the Valkyrie's love for Bryn, Bryn's love for Sigurd, Sigurd's love for Bryn, Scathach-Skadi's love for her people, Ophelia's love for Rodaime, Surtur's love for Ophelia.
Napoleon's love for Ophelia as a contrast. It's a whole thing. It also, I think it hits all the big 4 types of love kind of thing. So yeah, it's there's a lot of interconnected themes in there. But while Surtur is walking up back to his homies, walking back to his posse, Canis and Tomovich have a conversation, which I think once again reveals that while Canis is constantly mad at the world, I think it's because, in case you guys forgot, she is literally living a rape revenge movie all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, so there's that. But they actually have an interesting conversation, and then they fuck off to their respective places. Like, Tomovich is like, I gotta go to the next Lostbelt. You should go back home. It's perfectly fine. And she's like, you're right, I will go back home. But she tells Konanskaya she's got a fat ass. And Konanskaya is like, excuse me, I'm very slim. And I'm like, no, you're drawn by what Arco. It is definitely fat. I wrote it with a PH. Also, assuming that Konanskaya is the assassin Tamamo who appears in the trailers, which she probably is, you're literally wrong.
Literally, it was an ass shot.
Assassin. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing. But then that's why they fuck off from the story for the climax. But yeah, there is some interesting things going on. Also, speaking of Sigurd, though, Sigurd, actually cool.
Real
Surtur,
cool, actually.
not so cool. Literally and figuratively. Though I
I mean,
will say, yeah, obviously, I felt a little sympathetic for him at the end. We talked about love, and the whole point of the story is that Surtur only destroys. He literally has no way to understand how to express his feelings for Ophelia. Because she happened to be, like, the one person who looked at him and was like, hey, cool, you're a dude. I'm a dude, too. Hey, we're both dying. Neat, bye.
I think, what did he said? It's all like, if next time we meet, I'll show you my flames or something.
Show you my flaming sword. There's a lot of flaming sword jokes. I'm pretty sure it's also a metaphor for his penis, but
Yeah. I mean, Grand Saber Suitor win.
but I think there are a lot of jokes because a lot of people play this in JP where only you can hear his voice lines, which are about 90% Ophelia. But he actually has character depth and story and stuff he's doing. He's not just an asshole, but also he's an asshole. Also funny, you talk about a Grand Saber. I put this in my notes. So no, probably can't summon Surtur for reasons. They do explain that summoning the King of the Giants is like a weird, once-in-a-lifetime kind of coincidence because of Ophelia's eye and the fact that she's from the Evocation Department, a.k.a. she's a summoner by nature. But he does have full Matson kit. That is actually true. He has both his own skills and NP, and also they talk about the skills that he stole from Fenrir, which I actually used to write a fan run for Fenrir because canonically you can summon Rider Fenrir. It happened in the drama CD. No, I'm still not over that. You're going to be hearing about that one for probably a whole nother year. But yes, it's very interesting to see what they do. That said, Ophelia Sinmara pseudo win. For those of you who don't know, Sinmara is a female Jotun who is the keeper of the magic sword Levantine, who might be Surtur's wife, daughter, sword holder lady? She's only mentioned a couple of times, and it might just be another epithet for Hela, but still, it's cool. Also, Ophelia is very dead, so she definitely counts to be summoned.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is another big question. Remember, you have to die to be summoned. Oh boy, this is our first Cryptor death because Scathach is still alive. She dies after overloading and blowing up her own mystic eye, which is a big deal, and then using her Sirius light, which we still don't know what it does, and it's very important. I knew from summaries that she used it. Fun fact, it turns out those summaries told me just as much as the story did. Because all it does is she deactivates the magic circuits in her eye, which, by the way, Ophelia's eye is super cool, because it's a multi-purpose eye. It lets her see possible futures, see the future, kind of, and other stuff like that. But also, she can pin futures in place, so she can temporarily lock you into a possibility. She uses this to diffuse Ortonax by making its mysteries fire in the wrong order. She basically picks a future where it misfired, so it starts breaking down, and lots of other things. She pins lots of other stuff. Now, interestingly, it does have counters, because if there aren't multiple futures, she can't pin you to a bad one.
Oh yeah, Bryn does this.
Yeah, Bryn, through sheer willpower, makes it so that the only possible outcome is that she does the thing.
Yes.
Surtur does this also later, when he's transforming and leaving Sigurd's body. She tries to lock him down, but he's like, haha, the Valkyrie lady showed me how to do it. But then she uses it on Final Surtur with her Sirius light, which just, it sounds like she's basically trying to do the reverse of what she normally does, which is, the way she phrases it is, you will not shine before me. And she's like, when she spends her command spell, she's shouting at us to shine. So it sounds like she's just doing normal command spell stuff, but on like a high level, but I still don't know. We do find out later, Scathach-Skadi does tell us that Ophelia told her that if you use the Sirius command spell, you die. It costs your life to use, but it has miraculous effects. We do know that what Cryptors was trying to do with it was to basically rebuild his Lostbelt and make a new reality Anastasia could be the Tsarina in, but it didn't work.
Well, like, honestly, the way I see it is probably the Sirius Light. Command spells usually only affect servants. Sirius Light probably actually affects reality.
Yes, which is probably why it costs you your life to do.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting things about command spells. Did it teach me on them? It might be a little short. I'll think about it. We already have like 4 topics that are being voted on. We'll talk about that later. But the general rule of command spells is they're just a big infusion of magical energy with like a control spellcraft on them. So if you use them for a specific command, they are a very strong compulsion. If you tell Saber, don't stab that man, Saber has to not stab that man, but also magic resistance counts because it is an agecraft, so certain servants can resist these effects. But the more specific your order is, the more powerful it is. The more general is, the less powerful the command is, but it still infuses them with magical energy. If you're like, don't die, it dumps a bunch of energy in their body so their wounds close up and they heal temporarily, but not fully. If you tell them to activate their Noble Phantasm, it dumps a shitload of energy so that they can use their Noble Phantasms, etc. This is presumably how we use our command spells, just be like, servant, do the thing, servant, don't die. And the other thing that is commonly used is that to summon them, Shiro does this a shitload in FSN. He wastes a lot of command spells making Saber appear throughout various timelines. But that is another thing you can do that we never do it for because we already have that feature.
Saber.
Cortana thinks she's a saber. Well, actually, Cortana is a sword, so she's not wrong. Hey, Saber Tristan win. Because in case you didn't know, Cortana is his sword originally, even though it only shows up in the Matter of France. It's weird. But yeah, so her eye's super cool, and we don't really know. We didn't really learn what Serious Light does. We just know that it's really strong and it's really painful to use. We will, I'm sure, see more of it later, because that was the whole reason why Kadak is being kept alive, other than that, also, I assume Wodaime probably doesn't want to kill him, just because he went through all that trouble to keep him alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool. I'm also, by the way, I'm not necessarily kidding about, like, Ophelia Pseudo. She's actually really cool and, like, really powerful, and she is dead, so it counts.
Actually, here's the weird thing. Can these servants be recorded right now?
They can be recorded by us, at least.
That is true. Actually, they have been mentioning this, that the Master's bonds have done some weird shit. It's like how you were able to actually forge a connection with Scathach. And I think Suter said his karmic bonds with Ophelia is what led them to this.
Yes, because they were connected through her eye, because she still had her eye, it basically served as a catalyst when he got summoned, so he was able to do the classic FGO Shimsham and hijack Sigurd's Saint Graph.
Yeah. So, yeah, honestly, yeah, you are correct. Yeah, because we are motherfucking a fucking nexus of connection. Like, honestly, like, the fact that they actually use Karmic Bond specifically makes me really wonder what's up with the Master sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird. So, yeah, I think you said this last weekend, but yeah, Season I was mostly useless. She does give you one of the buffs in the big boss fight with Surtur, which is cool, but still.
So, I'm actually, like, looking at this, I finally understood some. Lostbelt 2 is weird that it doesn't have a banner, too.
Correct. They did a pre-release banner, they did the central banner, and then Skadi got pushed to Anniversary.
I think there might have been some fucking servant delays, because if you think about it, like, fucking, Scathach and Skadi, that'd have been a banner, too, right then.
Yeah, that sounds like they're both SSRs, but that would have been the rotation. That would have been, here's our new story lock, and here's our new limited, the Lostbelt King, and here's the story lock unit.
Yeah,
but
usually
Dubs, kids, Season is not coming out until Oniland this Halloween.
Yeah, because usually the Lostbelt King is in banner too.
Mm-hmm. And I think what probably did happen was that it's probably that there was like, okay, so Season, we don't need her assets for this. She's not going to be playable right away. What do we do? Well, we've already planned, and Napoleon's going to be permanent. We've already planned that he's going to be released to hype this up, and maybe they were already planning to do the Sigurd Bryn Wombo combo with Valkyrie, who are permanent. And then it's like, okay, what do we do for a part 2? Oh, well, we're just going to back into the Anniversary. Why don't we just put, we don't have any specific plans. Why don't we just put Scathach-Skadi in there and not do a part 2 banner?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that part 2 banners aren't always new characters, because there are 2 releases of Lostbelt 5, there are like 4 Lostbelt 5 banners, some of which aren't actually with any new people, I don't think, because Odysseus gets delayed until White Day. But yeah, this is a thing that happens, I think, with Lostbelts now, is just there's so many characters all at once that aren't ready, that you're going to see offset releases. Like, while Odysseus is permanent, he doesn't get released until way later. Same with, Diascudi, I believe, are for the actual first part of the Lostbelt, but you know what I mean. Also, since people talked about this, expect this with Lostbelt 3 later this year. A lot of people are hyped for new assassin Old Man Lee. Remember, he doesn't come out until New Year's. He's actually on the part 2 banner of Sparrow Inn. But now he is story locked, so after that banner, he will be in the story gotcha permanently if you beat Lostbelt 3. But still, he doesn't actually exist in the game state until that happens. It's very interesting. But yeah. Also, yes, we talk about, technically, we'll do that in a second too. We're still talking about Lostbelt too. Also, that was a fun thing about Season I is yes, she does, because she is Ilya's body and she's FSN Ilya. In case you didn't pick up on that, she is able to shadow summon her own Herc to do stuff, and he apparently tanks Surtur, even though he's a shadow servant. He's still the strongest in the world. That would be, by the way, another really great moment to do an animation, so we could see Shadow Herc go apeshit. But yes, it's really interesting, by the way. This is Lostbelt 2, but we immediately do the Babylonia tier thing of, like, the cavalcade of buffs for the final boss fight.
Actually, this was all throughout the Lostbelt.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Napoleon gave you some stuff. And also...
Bryn gave you some stuff.
Yes, you had to pick one of the two for the big Sigurd fights, and depending on who you picked... I also believe for Valkyries too. But depending on who you picked, you got different buffs. Napoleon would do damage down on the enemy from his bombardment, and Bryn would do crit down from her runes.
Actually, it was interesting. Because I actually didn't want to use Napoleon, I swapped him out to the back, and he would start doing his attack from the back line.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of fun little features. There's a lot of story and gameplay integration, right?
Again, I really wish this is what Bond 10 would do. Is just, when you have them, they just do a buff of some sort.
Yeah, most of them are unfortunately on the field. If they took that out, that would be a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
You could do a lot more back row shenanigans. Though some of them still wouldn't necessarily proc, because, like, Arash is, like, procs when he dies, but still.
Yeah.
It's still good, though. It's a 5k heal and a debuff cleanse. It's actually really interesting for challenge quest stuff. It's just very expensive. But yeah, so there's a lot of gameplay and story integration that's really cool. A lot of really interesting stuff that happens. Napoleon is a huge bro the whole way.
Mm-hmm. Much cooler.
And that's the final thing. And they do the fucking front-facing story spray when he does his NP in-game. And he gives Surtur a big old face rainbow. He busts out his quote-unquote trump card, which is just to use his NP really hard. Because I don't know about you, but I actually was using Story Napoleon a lot. I did get to fire his NP several times. It's just that. Yeah. Smaller, I guess. Did you also reference that Napoleon does have Imperial Privilege? He doesn't use it in FGO, but he does have it, and he uses it to psychically contact Ophelia and be like, yo, girl, you are in an abusive relationship. You need to get the fuck out of here.
I am he who grants wishes.
Yes, because Ophelia did actually have one wish, which was she wanted to see a rainbow, basically, or something. And he was like, yo, girl, I've granted your wish. And she's just like, okay, you're cool, I guess. And then you can, after he's gone, you can bring back Ooh La La.
I did.
Of course you did. Because who wouldn't? Why wouldn't you bring back Ooh La La? You know, I'm just thinking of the Futurama quote, what a man. I'd follow him to hell and back, I would. He gave me all the medals. Never promoted me above private, though. Yeah. Her wish was to be saved, actually, because that's something she never could do. But yeah, it's really interesting. But also, Ophelia uses her eye and her command spell to power you up, which is, other than the super giga ultra buffs you get from Napoleon's Ghost and Skadi and Citonai and maybe Ortolinde, because I don't think she actually fights in that last one, is just you, Bryn, and Sigurd fly up to Surtur's face and boop his snoot. Don't ask us how we float up to the tree. Don't know about that.
I don't remember.
I don't think they bring it up. You literally go from the boss fight with Skadi to slaying the tree, and then after that, you actually get the story segment where you do the conclusion. It's a little weirdly paced. But
also,
yeah,
shout out to how fucking lovey-dovey Sigurd and Bryn are.
Oh yeah, they're adorable together. You can see why they have so much shipping power.
Yeah. I was just like, after like Sigurd, he's all like talking, he's like, wake up my love, and she's like, no. He's like, do it. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is everything I wanted.
And at the end, he's like, I'll see you again, babe. You can stab me with your spear anytime. I'll be fine. Which he actually will. He's got guts. I do also appreciate that, again, they both use their NPs in a big way to smash Surtur, including, a kind of a little bit of revenge because Sigurd's sword is also of the sun, but it was made by Odin, so it's pretty cool. He gets to punch it pretty hard. The little thing where, to keep Surtur from just jobbing you out because he's an asshole like that, where Bryn hits him with some sensory magecraft so he doesn't realize that he doesn't actually get you. That segment's still actually also really cool.
Well, yeah, it's a callback to Napoleon hugging Snow, which is great.
But also a callback to the start when it was Sigurd Surtur trying to kill you, where you have the same choices. I picked, by the way, use a command spell both times.
I will not go quietly. to that cold night.
I'm just imagining it would just be like, no, command spell, mash, do the thing. Still don't know, by the way, what the amalgam goat is supposed to be. I don't know if Ortonax Mash has mats anywhere, but she references it constantly, so it must be important. The bunker bolt, at least I understand. That's the fact that she actually has a pile bunker in her shield to stab people. And I believe the bunker bolt skill turns into her gun in Lostbelt 5.
I'm excited to see what that's all about.
That'll be interesting. I think that's going to have a lot to do with the character we meet at the very end, but I think, let's see, did we cover everything in the actual Lostbelt? Talked about Sigurd and Surtur, really interesting characters. Talked about Ophelia. Sky and Canis got in there. Talk about Scotty's character development. I guess overall, how do you? Because we had a long talk about Scathach. How do you feel about Ophelia as a character?
I like her a lot more than I do Scathach. A lot of people were saying that Scathach was kind of a foil to you, to the master, but Ophelia is kind of a foil to Mash. I don't necessarily get that feeling.
Foil might be not the right word.
Yeah.
Ophelia's character arc is much more about her relationship with Mash. Ophelia literally can't remember your fucking name.
Nope.
Like, when she sees you, she's like, I'm Omega, by the way. She's like, yes, I didn't forget. I'm just dying or something inside. It's fine. Just like, okay.
Well, I love her. I love Ophelia at the end where she's talking about how she's your senpai in this, and so she needs to look good. I can't remember what it was.
She's got to look cool. It's there, but yeah. But when she's having the I'm dying scene, she only speaks with Mash. And she's just like, hey, Mash. You're really cool now. Like, remember how we didn't talk to anybody? And how we had girls' table time with Pepe? God, Pepe's so great. I love Pepe already. Trust me. He only showed up a little bit in there. It's just like, no, it's great.
Again, but as I said, like, I'm not, like, honestly, I'm not too upset about, like, me being put to the sideline in that case, because, like, again, like, me as a master was literally this last minute replacement who did end up, like, you know, completely turning everything on its fucking head, but at the same time, I wasn't part of their relationship dynamic, like, at all.
No, and honestly, that's what's very much why Scathach is a foil to you, is because he's basically the you of Team A. Like, he's just some nobody asshole who is minding his own business, and he's just like, wait a second, you're just like me. If you did all that stuff, I could definitely do all that stuff. How dare you do all that stuff? That was my chance to do that stuff. Fuck you. That's his character arc, basically. Where he's trying to work up the ability to actually own up to not only, well, he needs to beat you first, because that's the stepping stone to proving himself that he could win the contest and beat Wodaime, who he's really got his inferiority complex about.
Ophelia is more a girl who makes wishes but doesn't have them granted. She wants to be Master's Fred. She wants to have no Wodaime. So she wants. Like, she's a girl who wants, but doesn't actually, like, vocalize her wishes.
Yeah, I think, again, that's kind of... Ophelia is definitely much more the stereotypical mage character, who don't often show up a lot in Fate, but I'd almost say she's kind of like, her personality isn't, but her kind of character tropes are a little bit similar to Rin in that way, where Rin has a lot of baggage about, well, I'm a mage and I've inherited all my family stuff, so I guess I need to do the family quest and fight the Holy Grail War and do the thing...
It's like it keeps going referencing to why she hates Sunday so much, you know?
Yeah, because I think that's actually a little bit more clear in the Japanese, or at least the way it was explained to me, that, like, Sunday is the day of rest. Sunday's the day that nobody has any expectations of her. Nobody wants anything from her. So, because Ophelia has only ever existed in her life to do stuff for other people, right? Whether it's for her family or for Wodaime or whatever, she has no idea what the fuck to do with herself on Sunday. That's why she hates Sundays.
Yes.
Nobody asks her to do anything. So she has nothing to do, basically.
Like, you can definitely get a feeling that she is someone who lives to fulfill someone else's expectations. Just look how she, like, treats Wodaime. Constantly, like, what does Wodaime want me to do?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, and everybody loves Napoleon. He's great. A real MVP of this scenario. I'm so glad they introduce him early and they run with him. Though, they do a lot of work in the little time you have with Sigurd, which I appreciate, too. I also appreciate that another thing, he talks about how he'd lived through her spear. I think canonically he would also, because he already got stabbed. while Skadi does put him back together again kind of at the end, he's basically running on being stabbed with the thing that kills him the whole, like, last 7 chapters of the story.
Oh yeah, I think they said, like, honestly, I think they mentioned, like, it's something like their relationship with each other or something that was holding them together or something.
Yeah. Physically, Skadi patched them back up together with runes and then just ran on it. Honestly, no, though. Sigurd's not really that BS as a saber. It's just that he doesn't have any really intense skills. He's just got a lot of general stuff. He has access to certain amounts of runes, which is cool. He has access to his wisdom, but so do a lot of sabers have, like, protection-y, wisdom-y type stuff. And then he's, artificially, he has the dragon factor. He has the dragon core reactor, like, Artoria does. So he has a shitload of mana. But he's not really that crazy, all things considered. Like, he only has, like, 2 NPs, you know, unlike Lancelot, who canonically has, like, 4 and has, like, 4 A-rank skills, and it's crazy. Lancelot's definitely OP, but he was written that way. He's the original OP, original character Do Not Steal. And then,
French fan fiction.
yes, a French poet added him afterward. And then later, when we started getting to, like, Vulgate Cycle and Lamort to Arthur and stuff, it was like, oh shit, we've realized all this adultery stuff? That's not actually cool. So, that kind of makes Lancelot more like the character we know of him. You know, Sir Lance has a lot of married women. Like, Lancelot's really strong and powerful, but he's also kind of a loser. Stuff just happens to him to have dumb stuff happen. That's just kind of the way they treat it. And then we introduce Galahad, who's like, but he's even more pure and cool than his dad is. Yeah, he's the bestest. He finds the Holy Grail and angels literally whisk him up into heaven. That's how cool he is. But yeah, we're not here to talk about Lancelot. But Sigurd is a lot of fun, but Napoleon, I think, real MVP. Though, again, talk about characters getting their time in the sun. This story arc does a lot for Bryn, because honestly, I didn't really like Bryn's trial quest. It was very mind-rapey. Really not cool. And even when she shows up in one of Altera's interludes, she's still kind of creepy and weird. Like,
I mean, she's creepy and weird and counterfeit spirits, too, even if it's not actual Bryn.
Yeah, well, it is creepy and weird, but at least that's part of the joke, right? Like, she fits into the ethos and the tone. Maybe it's because... Well, I don't have a Bryn, so I don't know about her own interludes. But maybe it's because Sigurd is here that she gets to focus that differently. But even to Sigurd, she's not that creepy. She's just like, no, Sigurd, don't get too close. I'm going to stab. Oh, you're close. I'm stabbing you.
I think they also fluffed that as Skadi was doing something to prevent the murder energy.
Yeah.
But even if not, that Sigurd was like, nah, give it to me. I love you.
I can take it. I'm cool. Do you know how cool I am? I'm Seto Kaiba. But yeah, he can tank it pretty good. Oh, also, this is another point. Did I mention this last week? But about No, I don't think I did. I think I mentioned another thing. In like 2 lines, they explain Bryn's NP and her damage trait way better than anybody ever has.
Oh yeah, no, you did say that. Well, I don't know if you said on air, but
I did mention it before. But yeah, no, that was a great moment where they're just like, okay, so the closer they are to being a true hero, a person who I think of as like Sigurd, the heavier my spear gets, and the bigger it is. So on the one hand, while it does work for like her it's her girl boner, but in actual mechanical terms, what the Bryn's beloved trait is that these are people that she basically thinks are worthy heroes to go into Valhalla. Like they are not just peerless warriors, but they are also noble and good. Hence why, for instance, Ogita Alter, who has a counter guardian, is way more positive, has it, but vanilla Okita does not. And I believe Ushi has it because, honestly, if you think about it, Ushi's kind of that way. Ushi is just fighty. Like, that's the only thing she does is fight and kill stuff. And selflessly, too. Like maybe Ushi likes to murder, but mostly she's doing it because she wants to be cool. Master will appreciate it if I kill, like, 50 Oni and bring you their heads, and they're like, no, not the heads, just the hearts. It's cool. It's fine.
Head pats. Honestly, that reminds me, that's another scene. Caldea's so level 2 is just, Ushi just wants a goddamn head pat.
That's canonical.
That is.
So I think the only other big lore thing, besides talking about the characters, is talk about tree facts. We get also a lot better look at trees, because the tree, even though we don't see it, it's concealed by magecraft for most of the story until Surtur eats it. But it actually exists in the world and has taken root, which is the thing that the Lostbelt 1 tree did not. It didn't start growing until we took care of Ivan. So we learn a couple of things. One, the trees have seeds, which are the weird things, the weird caster class enemies who try and laser your face off. But also, they are explicitly described as more like fauna than flora.
Yes.
So yeah, there's some weird alien terraforming shit going on here, which I think is So the Lostbelts themselves, not that harmful. The trees, I think the point is that the trees are bad news. Because they are literally spitting out alien seeds, which are like attack drones.
What the Lostbelts are trying to do is trying to make a world hospitable for this foreign god to live in. Again, I don't understand why anyone thinks this is a good idea, but
honestly, I think Wodami is just doing it because that's the hand he was dealt to, like, yo dog, you're gonna like explode and die in this timeline unless you accept my offer. And he's like, can I take 6 friends? Can I get six more backstage passes? And the alien god was like, sure, fine, jeez.
Actually, now I think about it, maybe it was a delaying tactic.
Could have been trying to stall us. The second wave is very much, once Surtur eats the tree, he has authority over the tree, so he effectively becomes the Lostbelt king as far as the mechanics work, and is literally telling the tree to, like, attack us. I'm pretty sure that's why they, like, invade Skadi's palace. And by the way, make her, like, 200% mad. Like, I think that's the first time she gets serious and violent, is when a couple of seeds crash through her roof, and she's just like, I'm sorry, you've done what? What are you doing in my house? And then she freezes them solid and they explode.
Mama does not approve.
But, yeah. The other interesting thing is that, at least according to Surtur, the tree has not like an intelligence, but it has a will.
Yes.
The way he describes it, it's not a conscious thought, but when he came into contact with the tree, he understood that it has a desire to live and grow as well, which is why it lets him eat it, because it wants to grow. So it's like, yeah, cool.
Like some reptile lizard brain stuff.
Yeah. What that means, honestly, we'll probably find out more as we run into more trees. Though I will say, this is weird. Skadi tells us the name of this one. It's Sombrero, which, by the way, is a galaxy. There is a Sombrero galaxy. But the way in story she tells it is it's like it's a poignant thing, but I still don't get it. And I know about space and stuff. Also, it's a Spanish hat, yes. It's called the Sombrero Galaxy because it looks like a sombrero.
I wonder if there's anything interesting about this. Let's see.
Sombrero Galaxy. Let me see some cool pictures. Ooh.
Oh, wow. It actually does look pretty good. Pretty
Those
awesome.
are some nice shots, yeah. Very
check out this
picturesque.
book. It is. Check this out.
Yeah, it is. No, it does actually look kind of sombrero-like. But let's see. Let's see what NASA has to say about Messier 104, the Sombrero Galaxy. Largest mosaics ever assembled from Hubble observations. Center of it's thought to be a massive black hole, like a lot of galaxies. Got a lot of star systems. It's between Corvus and Virgo. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing anything like any weird facts other than it's a really famous galaxy we know of. But yeah, that's a lot of very interesting stuff going on there with that. I think as we go on, we'll find out more. Tree was kind of an interesting battle. I gotta say, I like this tree better than the last tree, if only because this tree didn't pierce and invul me all the time. The NP gain down was kind of annoying, but you can get around that. The fact that the first tree was like pierce invul on NP and would regularly give itself pierce invul was just a pain in the ass to fight. Because guys, I'm not as harsh on Ortanax Mash as some people, but I will say, God, I miss her first skill. Oh man, do I miss free AoE damage cut. Ooh, it hurts. It physically hurts. There are so many times when I'd love to just be like, and I just like to take less damage. I had to bust out seals on the Skadi Ortalinde fight, but that's because I ended up fucking up my bars and ate some NPs that I didn't eat. That said, that wasn't hard, that was just me missing the timing with break bars. And the second Surtur fight was honestly not that super hard. Like, he's got some annoying stuff, but as a lot of people have pointed out, on the one hand, I do think I might owe Urali some grails, because unfortunately, at just max level 70, she's a little squishy. Part of that, though, is because Surtur is hard designed to shut down that strategy. He does bonus damage to Divine Servants, so he will beat up Urali and Orion very fast, despite the fact that he is still a male saber. He's also immune to charm, so
all you have to do is just hurt him before he hurts you. That was my strategy.
My key strat, though, was, you know what his one weakness is? Bridges. Which I actually have that, I think I deleted it, but I suppose it in spoiler chat, was, Surtur, you are already a bridge. Because Fujino shuts that man down hard, because her NP has buff block on it, which stops a lot of his shenanigans, and also she has her third skill with it reduces her max HP, but gives her huge damage cut and guts. Very tanky. She will take a lot of slaps. The other primary strat I used for Surtur was I had to bust out Jean again, just because I needed that sweet AoE debuff cleanse and invul. Because, God, those burn stacks. If you let him get away with that, that's kind of shenanigans. And unfortunately, I think your team your backup team only debuff clears you once. They will do it, but only once. But I didn't have too much trouble with the bosses. Apparently Lostbelt 3 is where they're really going to start getting shenanigans, so we'll see how that works. So I think, let's see, Skadi. So I think the only thing I've got left in my notes about the bullet points is to talk about the epilogue, basically. We've already kind of talked about Gerda's kind of farewell. And how
honestly, it hurt. It honestly made me hurt, especially when she's like, hopped and didn't land. I'm just like, no!
Yeah, I don't know who... I'm pretty sure it wasn't Urobuchi because he wrote Lostbelt 3, we're pretty sure. But whoever wrote that knew what they were doing. That was written to be a motherfucker. But at the same time, it's that, like, I had a lot of really mixed feelings. It's like a very, very happy sad, because it's like, oh, well, at least she, like, she was still being true to herself to the end. Like, she was still exploring, which is kind of an interesting thing, because that's a big point that's brought up with the Valkyries earlier, is there are no more heroes in this Lostbelt. Those people don't exist anymore. That's why they insist that Sigurd has to be from proper human history, because there's no way he could exist in this timeline, right? So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that kind of human curiosity returning, and then just whoosh. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff at the end, like when we suddenly end up in the ocean, which I have written in my notes as, "With my last breath, I curse Da Vinci." It's another Futurama quote. I love Futurama. It's really good, guys. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Because you're driving along, and then you end up in the ocean accidentally, and Da Vinci's like, hey, I know we call it sailing when we go into the imaginary sea, and that's called the sea. We can't actually swim, though, so shit, dude, we're gonna die. And that's just my immediate thought was just like, thanks, Da Vinci. Okay. And then has a lot of fun moments. There's a lot of back and forth with, Goldorf does some of his poignant stuff here, some Da Vinci talk. Sherlock explains some stuff and then goes back to sleep it off. Sherlock, by the way, when he kind of wakes up, has some very interesting commentary. Like, he has some very interesting back and forth between him and Scathach-Skadi. She says some interesting things that, like, his insight might actually be better than Odin's, but then she's like, no, wait, your insight is just all of human accomplishment on your side, which is kind of true, because that's kind of Holmes' thing. He's the guy we think of when we think of the guy who figures stuff out, is we think of, Sherlock Holmes. But then, I like how, after all the shenanigans, he's like, okay, I'm still gonna go take a nap, bye. And I'm just like, nah, it's cool, dude, you got stabbed pretty hard.
Yeah, no, stabbing.
You got stabbed and then you got cursed. Curse stab. But then, interestingly, we end up in the Wandering Sea. They explain a lot how that works. They're a fairy island. They're literally a traveling island you can't get to.
Yes.
And they move around in an ocean. Like, it's like a rolling reality marble. And we get invited by someone who calls herself a Spiritron hacker. A very interesting term, especially because Extra hasn't happened.
Yeah.
She says, by the way, that she designed our paper moon. And then she reveals at the end that her name is Shion some stuff. We don't actually see her yet, but she's a Melty Blood character. I'm pretty sure in Melty Blood she's also a vampire, because Tsukihime thinks she's not a vampire in Fate, because not Tsukihime. It's a thing I've mentioned before. Nasu's got a real big never the twain shall meet kind of thing between Tsukihime and Fate continuity. But she is from Atlas, and she's an inventor and magic hacker who apparently designed our paper moon, and like invites us inside to be like, yo, dog, hopefully we're gonna get some upgrades. Yes, Holmes did fuck us a little not sharing his complete theory.
Honestly, to be fair, every time he did try to explain it, something happened.
Yes, he had a couple of points where he tried to like warn us about his thoughts, but he passed out because he got stabbed really hard. And even then, it's like, yeah, I don't 100% blame him. Like, and he even said, speaking of fireworks, I think I hear some fireworks popping up just now outside. But even then, he's like, yeah, sorry, I should have tried harder to like write it down, but I was busy dying. And I'm like, no, I get you, man, but at the same time, I understand. I didn't get it either. Like, no, especially because of how, and also blame on Ophelia too. Like, to us, she probably could have shouted out like, yo, dog, he's got a surtur inside him, you shouldn't stab him. We'd have been like, ah, shit, we can't stab him. Bryn, boop him on the head and wrap him up with rope. But we could have done that. We could have hog-tied him and, like, stuck him in the back of the Shadow Border or something. Maybe on the Shadow Border. He's super strong. But, like, several people could have armed us with information about that problem who didn't. Holmes is only one of them.
Let's go find the fucking cliff here. That'd have been fucking poignant.
Yeah. And she wasn't fully mind shim-shammed until after Surtur actually got out, because Surtur was also Fafnir. Weird how that works. Yeah. I do also like, though, that Sigurd calls him out, right? He's like, buddy, I think you're real evil dragony right now. And throws his fucking sword at him.
When he got the wing.
Yeah, he's like, ooh, buddy, you're looking a lot like a dragon, which I'll have you know is just a larger swallow. And the sword punches him. Boom. Got Sigurd.
Actually, I wonder if Sigurd has lines for fucking...
Maybe. I'd have to check him out. I haven't, other than his standard issue Bond lines, I haven't poked his lines yet. I should throw him up in my room and poke him a couple times. Because he's a cool guy who does cool stuff. But yeah, so that's the big conclusion, is that that we go to the place, and I believe this is going to be the build-up to us being able to ray shift again, aka actually do events, and some other stuff.
When does Lostbelt 3 supposed to air?
It should be, I think for JP it was late November, so it should be early November for us. It'll be pre-Christmas, between Halloween and Christmas. Like, some people say December, but you gotta remember, we're always still scooched up a little bit, just because you gotta fill gaps. So somebody did also mention, though, something about Lostbelt 3, which is that now that you can see it, it is localized as, I believe it's still pronounced Sin or Shin, but it's written with a Q, like Keen or Queen or something. I don't fucking know. I'm not really good. Again, I don't know who the fuck decided to Romanize these things this way.
I really don't.
It's really confusing even for English speakers, let alone for non-native English speakers. Like, why did we decide we paired them up that way? I mean, like, Gaelic is already bad enough. By the way, here's actually, I did, because speaking of OSP, I did technically bring up, there's a really good one on Fionn, or Finn. The important thing to talk about, though, is that technically the way you're supposed to say his last name is he's Finn McCool, literally. The Finn, or I think there's some extra English you can put on his first name. It can be just Finn, or it can be more like Finn. Just put some Celtic in there. But previously, and I believe in Japanese, it is localized as Sin, and it might change, because they do that shim-sham occasionally, where they, like, change it. But there's a lot of really interesting implications, because, as they said, that's the name of the nation-state from unifying China, which I'm guessing is probably some sort of thematics.
Probably.
But we'll see when we get there. Again, luckily, we don't have to wait too long. It's still at the end of this year. After that, guys, buckle in, because we're gonna start getting some longer gaps. Like, it won't be until about the time Lostbelt 2 came out that we don't get Lostbelt 4, and then we won't see Lostbelt 5 until Christmas.
So we'll get a lot of events, but it's gonna be weird.
Yeah, story won't be progressing so much for a while. So yeah, that's really interesting stuff they've got going on. And we still don't know, by the way, about future stuff. Like, we mentioned this earlier with the interlude campaign, that I think it's actually really important and cool. Like, they do new interludes, they do release and stuff. They give banners to limited servants who haven't had them in a while. But it's also very clearly filler. And it's until when? The 8th? So about another week. Still have no idea what they're doing next. A lot of people have thoughts and feelings, but there's still like a month away from anniversary, so we're gonna need something. We've already done the summer rerun. I can't imagine they would do that. Like, summer with all its servants is ready to go before anniversary. So I don't know. Will we get like a OQ Labyrinth rerun or some other story related event rerun? Will we get something new?
Maybe a new Guda Guda?
Could do a new Guda Guda. Could do another new collab, or not collab. Just another new event, because there's all kinds of. I'm very interested to see what we do next. But that won't be until next week. Yeah, our next show will be recorded on the 10th. It's the 3rd right now. So, we will find out next week what they do, but yeah, it's very interesting to see how they're sketching stuff out. A lot of people are talking about the dot in the main thing. I won't shut up about it, it doesn't matter. There's a dot in the main menu, people think it's a thing, it could be a thing, it could not be a thing, who the fuck knows? It's FGO. So, I think that's all our deep dive. I think we hit all the big points, the characters, the story, the stuff, the themes. We didn't talk super long about the mechanics, but honestly, it wasn't that hard. You just needed a couple of really good archers and maybe a good rider or two. I may have taken some screenshots of Lucha Nason pile driving a space tree. There was some sweet tree raves. That's about it. And from what I know of Lostbelt 3, I think it's going to be a really interesting contrast. But hopefully also there's some prologue stuff that kind of explains why we're going there. Well, I think part of it's because we need to do some work because the thing about Lostbelt 5 being Atlantis, which I think they do mention Olympus in this, but it's in the middle of we've seen the map, it's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We have it canonically established the Shadow Border can't swim, so maybe part of that is why we need to work on some stuff so the Shadow Border can swim, so they can actually get to that Lostbelt, because that is an interesting thing that happens a lot in this one, is the Shadow Border physically moving. Like, it does a lot of physical motion. And in the first Lostbelt, it mostly stays in the same place until right at the climax, right? In this one, we drive around a lot. So, yeah. And stay tuned, obviously, for Anniversary. There's no real need to pre-game that. Just expect a shitload of quartz, a Skadi banner, some raid-ups and stuff. The GSSR. Still don't know for sure what I'm going to roll on. Like, I got Sigurd, so there's that Saber, so I roll on Assassins? I don't know what I need. I got to think about it. Luckily, it's not a whole shitload of money. But... sorry. Big yawn. I'm running out of my Lostbelt 2 energy.
We almost out.
But I think that's the wrap-up for the Lostbelt 2 stuff. We've been going for about an hour, for 2.5 hours, sorry. Hour and a half.
Okay, that's about everything. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to give this video a like to show your appreciation, and give us a sub for not only more best of recaps leading up to Lostbelt 6, but also for Let's Talk FGO, our regular podcast about FGO, released to public every Saturday. And leave in the comments if you want to hear the track, not for this video, because I edited them all out, but there will be more, trust me. And also make sure to ring the bell for notifications. I'd also like to throw a quick shout-out to our patrons who help provide us this amazing content, such as Adam DeHarp, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, Ferris, Flayless Icebird, Jeremy Vasquez, JDV 9000, Just for the Fate, Jonathan Sandoval, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Sharvor, Sean Pryor, some guy named Bob, and Varian the Crow. And if you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get this in audio format and other stuff for as little as $1 a month, or approximately $10 a year. That's all I really got in the outro bit. I'm going to let you guys go now. See you next time for Lostbelt 3.